True.
Halfway there.
And we're live.
Oh, shit. Woo! Hello
Maybe.
and welcome to the Legends of Tabletop podcast. We're getting ready to play test a couple of magic systems for core. I don't have a name for this episode. We might come up with something while we're playing. Who knows? Doesn't really matter. But it's a D&D type adventure. I'm going to kick it to Todd. I'll let him explain what's going on, and we'll jump into it.
Okay, so damn it, this is a great start.
Cut back to one.
Working title, let's say, is I don't know, World of the Wyrd. The Wyrd.
Nice.
Because Wyrd, which is pronounced somewhere between weird and word, is actually related to both. It's an old Norse term, but it means not only weird, as in what we would call strange, weird today, but also has something to do with destiny and with magic. And when I learned that, I thought, that's perfect. And we're going to tie this in because this is a magic playtest. You guys are from the far, far cold northern lands because half of the table has recently watched Vikings, and so apparently there's a lot of Viking shit going to be in here. It's cold. I imagine it's pumped full of testosterone and battle and magic. Also, there's magic. Lots of it. It's all around. So let's meet our three heroes and find out what their deal is. Now there are no classes in core, as I'm sure all of our 5 or 6 fans know. And so there's no such thing as saying I am a druid or whatever. So it's more about the skills that they bought and the way they've chosen to present those things. Fiction, narrativism. Let's go, baby. John, you're up first. Who's Alfred Carlson?
Oh, shit, I'm first? Let me grab my character sheet. I should be prepared.
You're up on the top level, baby. That's
all right. So Hallfrid is your typical Viking-esque person, big, beefy dude, 6'6", 280, built like a linebacker, blonde hair shaved on the sides, pulled back with the leather thongs and the big braid and all that, blue runic tattoos along the sides of the shaved head. He was snubbed from a leadership position in an adventure band due to jealousy from a rival family within the clan. He left his home, his clan area, to make a name for himself so he could come home triumphant and assume his rightful place in his mind. He wears a hide armor. When it's snowing and cold out, it's bare fur, and when it's cold and they're like trudging through the snow, he's actually has the bare head up that covers most of his head. He wields a large.
Now you're both. You called yourself a barbarian mage.
Yep.
So let's hear a little bit about your magic.
So his family believes that in the first age, the great bear mother brought humans into existence. There was a unity between, people and animals. Animals could speak, and they lived in peace, sharing knowledge. As the ages wore on, the animals forgot the secret speech, and men hunted the animals. But still, every generation, there's a handful on both sides, men, people and animals that are still blessed with this knowledge of the Wyrd. And he is one of those few. He does have the ability, slight ability to speak with animals. And he has a defending magic that he channels. Usually it takes the shape of a shimmering bear that either stands in front of a friend or sort of envelops them within the shell of this bear that helps to protect his friends.
You could have just said stand. I was waiting for you to say it. He has this awesome fucking bear stand. Come on. Yeah. That's going to be cool to see in action. And I like the whole mythology that you started to create here, because I want to start dealing with that and working that back in. Now, are all you guys from the same clan?
I think Jesse and I agreed that we were.
Alfred and Hothrafn are. Yeah.
What about Drake?
What do you think?
I don't think he would be.
No.
You know, gosh, I'm trying to think. Go ahead.
I was thinking maybe potentially we were, because you sound kind of, it sounds somewhat Scottish or whatever from the name, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe like we raided south and you kind of got picked up as a trophy since you have kind of those extra abilities.
Okay.
And we're brought back north. So maybe you're not like part of the clan, but you are kind of tangentially.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Okay, so talk to me about your clan and the way they deal with this, because are you saying that Drake is like a chattel slave?
No.
What are you saying?
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah. Well, perhaps he originally started out as a captive or a slave, and then kind of grew into his freedom of sorts, maybe.
Because he has the power to heal and harm magically.
Right.
So on the one hand, I want to point out that if he is part of the clan, that would make him automatically a valuable person, like from the day they realized he had that skill or started training or whatever they do in your clan. But the other thing, if we go with the captured dude, I don't think he could be held in bondage for long. I mean, he could literally cause magical wounds to appear on the bodies of his captors.
Maybe.
So if you were captured and broke out, that was pretty fucking dramatic.
Maybe Drake is like one of the few. Maybe he had been one of the few remainders of another war party, and we came upon the scene after the fact.
Yeah, maybe it's something where both like your tribe and my tribe had this
but you have a treaty, you have a bond of honor, maybe.
Yeah, and like
alliance,
and then like everybody was wiped out except for Drake and his reanimated parents.
There you go. You weren't captured. You weren't captured. You're like one of the few remaining survivors of an allied clan.
Yeah, I like
All
that
right.
idea.
I like
better.
that.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah,
that's beautiful. So let's talk about your magic, Drake.
My magic is through this school of Vitalia, which basically deals with life and death. He has kind of a skewed outlook on life. He did even before most of his clan or whatever got wiped out. He always kind of a lot of his brethren or family or whatever would always find a way to get to. They would fight valiantly, but always find a way to get themselves killed. So he just kind of like accepts that life and death kind of happen, and he will use the good parts of his magic to help those that he feels deserve it, and then the others he won't as much. And so, almost even to some aspect, he might even be not evil, but kind of cruel at times, just to get ahead and trying to figure out how to be the best at the magic that he does.
Okay, so he's a loner. He's not the type of healer that people bring their kid to when he broke his arm.
Yeah, not necessarily no, but like if he knows people, like he would know Hallfrid and Hothrafn, like he would do anything for their clan and their people and stuff like that. But
Do
if
you
it
live
was,
among them?
yes, I would say I do, and like in kind of a, I'm a part of I'm a part of it, but also kind of they put me off to the side, like
Okay.
they I'm useful when I'm useful, and I'm not when I'm not, kind of thing. I think.
Hmm.
I feel like this reference doesn't mean anything to you, but other people may get it. You're like kind of like the Floki in that, like here's the village, and then you're like in the woods over here because you just don't want to be surrounded by all those people.
Yeah.
And
And
so like
and
you come in when you need stuff, or if we need stuff, we go and get you or whatever.
yeah, and like nobody really, unless unless they're really expecting it. Like I think Todd actually said a good thing. Like nobody's coming over to see me because they're probably more scared than anything that I will try to do something that I'm not supposed to.
Yeah, they see your parents shambling around out front, and they're like, "Yeah, you know what? We'll send that other guy. What's his name? Hothrafn. We'll just send him over to talk to that guy."
Yeah.
Drake, you probably have. I don't want to put you on the spot, so I'm going to cut over to Jesse in a second. But I want you to think about your last name, which may be the name of your clan, which is important because they're basically wiped out. So think about that, and let's pop over to Jesse. Let's meet this Hothrafn.
All right, so yeah, Hothrafn, whose name actually means bitten by ravens, or the raven bit. So he takes it when he was a small child. He was actually attacked by a flock of ravens, and so his skin is all like scarred and pockmarked and everything from that moment. But it was actually looked upon as as both a blessing and a curse, because when it first happened, he was then deemed blessed by the gods and would receive their wisdom. So from that point on, he was kind of taken away from his family and raised as a seer for the village.
You're muted, Todd.
Sorry, I
Oh,
was
okay.
muted.
It wasn't me.
So what are your no, it was me. So
Okay.
what are your best skills? What are you good at?
So he is his best skills. He has or spell casting, which he does use as kind of divination, augury, that type of stuff to commune with nature and the gods and everything to figure out.
Sorry, I haven't seen your sheet, so I got to ask you, what's your brains?
Oh, my brains is 3.
Thank you. Sorry.
So that's one thing. So for the actually, this is probably a question I should have asked. Depends on where I'll put if I'll switch these 2 skills around or not. So with his spell casting, I was looking at it as not as much studied, but more natural. So I was wondering, I was leaning more towards like a psyche aspect, kind of going upon like with day trippers, how lucid dreaming can kind of be like a psyche or brains, depending if it's a natural effect or if it's more a
I take the exact same approach here. So as a matter of fact, the approach has been modified by a suggestion from John, which I worked into Core Complete. So not only do I suggest either brains or psyche for all these magical skills, but instead of drawing a hard line on it, I say, actually, if you see yourself as having a combination of the two or whatever, go ahead, put the skill in both places. Nobody's going to cry about it.
All right. Yeah. So I was looking at his spell casting coming much more out of a natural kind of, more of like a communion with nature and with the divine.
So that's your psyche.
Like a learned skill. Yeah.
Yeah. Sort
So,
of
yeah.
like your intuitive, tied to the worldness.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So when so he has a 2 in spellcasting. I also put 2 points in religion, and then 1 point in nature as well. And
Good.
then I also have a point in axe weaponry. So because I have to be able to defend myself.
Before we continue, Todd, if you want
Yeah.
to take a look in the, did you send it to everybody? Jesse emailed over his sheet.
I did, like right before we.
Yeah, so it's not in the thread that we were using for the game. He sent a separate email. It says playtest. It's got his dude on it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I put it in the same thread.
No, it's nope.
Oh, weird.
Cool, got it.
Okay, continue.
Kurt, what's the name of your clan?
Boy, I couldn't come up with anything. Let's
Dead.
see. Yeah. Shut up. It sucks because I had something Raven kind of put with my guy too, but I don't think I want to do that now that Jesse kind of took that. So I'm gonna.
You could. That could be a connection. I could see that in like that the Raven is what called you to become part of us. That it's all one thing.
Well, you might not think that when you see what like the back of his robe, his clan's insignia basically is a almost kind of a mutated skull with a crow inside of the skull, but the crow, its anatomy inside of the skull is it's upside down and also broken, so it looks very daunting and very scary. A lot of people are just like, whoa, that kind of thing. But there's also a light behind it too.
So your clan had kind of a punk attitude, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah,
you know what? If you go with that, Hothrafn and Hallfrid kind of have an amicable relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It could put myself and Drake in a more confrontational then, because I have been blessed by the Raven, while at first glance, at least, it appears as though you kind of like curse the Raven.
Yeah.
So we could kind of like have steered, or at least I steered.
Yeah, I don't want to push too far in this metaphor, but I'm hearing something like the Gnostic heresy here. Like Drake's clan, who's had such a tragic history that they've almost become nihilistic about it. They have a Gnostic view of the world. The Raven is the great god. On that we agree. Goes way back. But Drake's clan, the Raven is a trickster. This place is an illusion. Don't trust people.
Yeah.
So it's a dark Raven. In fact, how would you translate dark Raven? Let's look that up.
It could also be that, like Jesse's character has, he feels blessed by being chosen, but Drake, it's more of a burden to have these powers than.
Yeah. It's almost like a curse.
Yeah. And maybe because of everything that you were saying, it's, it's a dark Raven. It's not a, a bringer of light and wisdom. It's a.
Yeah.
Drake Dark Raven. God, that's like so pat. I could literally see it in a bad fantasy novel.
I figured Jesse's doing the work, so I didn't look. Okay, good.
He's in his Google foo.
Yeah.
Maybe if we switch the words around. Hothrafn.
Oh, I like that.
Ooh, yeah.
All right. If we sort of run that all together into one word, Hothrafn. I'm going to do it. Yeah, that wasn't a question. Although I think it'd be a long O, right? Blotarafn. Something like that.
Probably.
Sorry, I can't say that. Sorry.
Do you want to just sort of Americanize it?
No, that's
Dark-
okay.
Darkroffen.
No, I like the Blotarathen.
We did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's actually going to end up being important because there's a sort of a commotion going on in the middle of town. You two guys had Hallfrid and Hothrafn, you'd gone down to. It's not really an inn. It's more like a shack, but they call it the Broken Barrel, and it's a place everybody gathers to drink. And you guys are hanging out there, and Drake happens to be there too. So you have him pull up a chair, and you're all talking in general. When you realize there's a commotion going on out in the street, it sounds like either a merchant maybe, or some sort of traveling notary. Something is exciting the people out in the street, and you all decide to go have a look. And when you do, you see that it's your old friend Nompor. And Nompor comes running right up to Drake. Drake, it's a sign. I know it's a sign. They've taken the last of the Blotarathen. PQ. He's disappeared. Now, you never really had a close relationship with PQ Blotarathen because he's like 15 years older than you, Drake. But he's a famous adventurer. He's known for traveling between the towns of the Northern Realms. He's killed many supernatural beasts, disappeared. You know what? I'm going to gender swap this. I'm sorry, I'm using a module that I picked up somewhere, and I've decided that it just makes more sense for PQ Blotarathen to be the last known female adventurer of the Blotarathen clan. Known for traveling between the towns in the Northern Realms and killing many a supernatural beast, has recently disappeared after accepting a job far to the north, near the landlocked village of Burbelnook. Now, the village is in the middle of nowhere, but it's often used as sort of a rest point between more important towns way, way up in the frozen north. So a lot of adventurers know the place and have been there before. In fact, there's sort of a thriving trade that goes on there, magical and enchanted devices, and there's a comfortable inn. Now, the big exciting news, it's not exciting that PQ has disappeared. What's exciting is that the village has gotten together, pitched in for a bounty of 2,000 silver coins for anyone who can rescue PQ, or if the worst has befallen her, dead or alive, bring back her killer. And everybody is looking at you guys because there's really no one else in town who they could even bring this problem to. But they've got the money right here.
So Drake looks at his two buddies and is just kind of doesn't quite roll his eyes, but he kind of, gives that look like, it's very interesting that PQ has found her way into absolute trouble. Usually that's not what happens.
There are tales far and wide. Hallfrid and Hothrafn, you've heard of PQ's legendary hero. Slayed the two-headed dragon of the Northern Mountains.
From the tales that they tell, it seems like she should be able to hold her own. What do you know about this PQ? She's one of yours.
everyone has heard the tale, but Drake was just a wee lad the last time PQ was ever in his village.
Drake's like, I know the stories the same as you. I wasn't close with PQ. I was but a little pint. And our clan is not as close as yours, as to be able to talk about, oh, what have you done today? Well, I went on a big quest. You know, we do our thing, and we kind of don't really talk about it. We let everyone else talk about it.
So he he's still got his drinking horn in his hand, and he kind of like, he doesn't punch Hothrafn, but like, nudges him with the hand with the ale and kind of like spills it all over. And he says, this could be the thing, to be known for great deeds, to save the mighty PQ from herself and bring her home unscathed, could be the thing.
Yes, to save such a notable warrior would mean us greater than her, and it would mean that then we would be greater than this bloater here.
Perhaps she may even join under our banner. No.
We don't need any more of them. This Drake is good enough. He already tarnishes our clan name anyway.
I'm kind of okay. He's right there.
Oh yeah, I keep looking. I'm like gesturing to him over my shoulder.
Yeah, literally, Drake actually, he's not a man that really has a lot of humor, but he actually kind of laughs at that, and he kind of is like, he kind of scoffs, and it's kind of like, do you really think that PQ cares if you're greater than her, than she? She has already amassed more than you ever will.
But see, if even if she doesn't care, if we save her, then we are better, and that means that our clan is better than yours. See?
And he gives Hothrafn like a very condescending look, and he says, adds up.
So Alfred just looks and he says, she may not care, and Drake, you may not care, but he kind of like waves his hand, sloshing his meat all over. These folks will care. It will make a difference to those in certain positions
until they have passed on, and then you will be forgotten.
But by then he holds up his hand and he starts shaking his fist. I will be known as the one, and I will gain my rightful place. And then he just pounds the rest of the horn, and he just kind of like tosses it over his shoulder.
Nompur struggles to lift up this large bag with about 2,000 silver pieces in it and plops it onto the cart, which has been tied to the horse while we were all talking. And he says, you know where to find me, just at the edge of town. But I thank you for taking this task because, well, I would have to go all the way to the Valley of Spires to find the next worthy heroes who might take the job. And frankly, you are a lot closer.
He'll kind of nudge up to Nompur a little bit and say, now you should talk to the guard and make sure that you could get an extra watch, because some people might try to take that silver from you. See, I am helping you.
He looks around. There's a lot of people standing around. A lot of people have come out to see what's going on. And you realize that many of these people have actually pitched in a lot of those coins. And they're slapping Nompur on the back. And some of them are laughing at you. They're like, we're not going to steal our own money, friend. But you can have it if you go and find that hero.
And have it
turn
we
to
shall.
Hallfrid with Drake around the side and be like, we will have it.
Yippee.
It's about 3 days journey through the frozen tundra to get to the village of Burblenook. You guys are going to have to pack up, stay real warm. You got some walking to do. Or do you ride horseback? How do you travel?
Are there horses available to those with a wealth probably of 0?
No, nobody spent any points on wealth?
No wealth, no fame.
Okay. At a wealth 0, actually, if private ownership of horses is a common thing, then you can have horses, but they're not great horses. They're old horses who may or may not
Probably
make
would
it
have eaten
through.
Right.
No, we probably want. I mean, we're probably used to walking everywhere, right? I mean, that's the.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
I don't like meta. I don't think horse usage was common with Vikings, right? I mean, it was all
Well,
on
you know,
foot.
obviously we're not on Earth, but
Yeah, I know.
so really the question is, do horses or something like horses, are they used by your people?
I think probably not. I
Probably
mean, maybe in the villages, right, to like plow when they can in that very short season, but probably not common for a lot of other stuff.
Okay, let me ask you another question since we're on this animals theme. I want you to remember you were talking about the animal. Basically, animals tie into your religion in a deep way. Are there any animals that are like domesticated, or do you view them all as wild spirits?
I'm sure we probably have dogs, right? I mean, that would
right,
be
yeah.
Dogs?
But even they're probably, you know, while there are dogs, they probably aren't, you know, like they're not probably like household dogs like we usually have, like we have today.
right.
It's
Yeah, they're
probably
not getting like $50 kibble and
Do you
toys.
Well,
have
it's
any?
yeah, it's like they're dogs that live within the village kind of thing. Like
Okay, and Halfrid, you've got like animal related skills. Do
Mhm.
you have a dog, or do you have a wolf thing you bond with?
I hadn't thought about that. I'll say no because I didn't put any points into it. I didn't think of that, right? Like he would.
Well,
So
at wealth level O, I could give you like an older, weak horse, something to get around on, but not something you ride into battle. So I thought, well, okay, you could have a dog, sure, same.
maybe sure, like a big wolfhound or whatever.
Whatever's common in this area, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, shit,
All right, you're
I
gonna
have
want to
come up
give
with
your
a name.
dog a name, yeah.
Damn it.
all right.
Okay, and so this becomes important. Then, do you travel with the dog?
The dog is old.
No, it doesn't have to be old, but he's not. Isn't. If I put it mechanically, he's a +0, right? So he's just a dog. He's not. Don't count on him in combat, right? Unless you have animal training and animal bond skills, then you could have trained him. Okay.
No, I think you would leave him at home. I think he leaves him home.
All right.
Ruffles his face, whatever. I mean, they're working animals, right? Like you said, it's not sort of
Well, you're
the
going
same
to be,
thing.
yeah. I sorry to derail, but I had to ask because you're going to be on the road for 3 days, and if you have a dog with you, it could be useful. You're going to have to camp twice.
No, I don't think so. I think he ruffles his scruff and he speaks to him in the old speech, and he just tells him to watch the hearth, to watch his clan, his family.
And you guys head out into the cold, heading north to the village of Burblenook. Now, the first night, the weather is ferocious. terribly, terribly bad. Visibility is extremely low. It's not quite blizzard conditions, but the wind is whipping up so much snow that it's very hard to see too far in front of you. And you're pleased when the wind finally dies down a little bit, but it's hard to tell because everything is shifted if you're still heading in the exact right direction. Anybody have navigational skill, survival skill, something like it's starting to wonder if you might be lost?
I have nature.
I have tracking, but if we're not, I mean, could we parlay tracking into like following the established trail that leads
I think
to?
I think that Hothrafn's nature skill is probably more likely because that would maybe you'd know where the stars and planets are supposed to be. So
Right, yeah.
okay, so give me that, and let me know your highest roll.
That's going to be 4 + 1, 5.
Yeah, you are in fact slightly off course, and Hothrafn, you know exactly how to correct, but in order to do that calculation, you had to sort of step away from the others a little bit because they're in a densely wooded area, and you had to get out where there was no branches in the way, and you could kind of figure out, where the various gods are.
And that's exactly he finds an opening, and he's literally like hands like outstretched, like slowly kind of spinning to get a clear view of everything.
Okay, and here's something I want to show you. Let me close some shit. Looks like I need to do this before I can share windows. I'm going to close the character sheets. This is how much I trust you guys. Closing windows, closing windows. All right, let me try again. Why don't I see it?
The suspense is killing me. You could, if it's a pic, you could email it to me and I could share it if it's easier.
I'm going to share my entire screen. Jesse.
Yes.
You turn to go back to the camp. Do you see my screen?
I see your screen seeing our screen.
You gotta choose a different tab.
Yeah, I do. All right, hang on. Let me save this as a file. Wow, this is exciting shit.
So much editing later. At least it's all one big chunk.
Right? There you go.
We are experiencing technical difficulties.
How about while go ahead. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, when you turn around to get back to the camp, this thing is between you and them.
All right.
And it doesn't say anything, and you're not even sure if it's actually human or some sort of non-corporeal spirit. It's very hard to tell because there's snow and trees, and this thing is moving. It's between the trees, but its eyes are glowing, and when it moves between two trees, you see it, and you can hear it breathing.
So yeah, as Hothrafn is kind of slowly spinning in a circle to get his bearings, and he speaks out and says, Jarl, do not forbay us. Allow us safe passage amongst the woods and show us the way. Do not hide yourself. And then he turns and sees this thing, and he says, Farin has given us a guide. He's like, yes, what do you bring?
It dives back behind a tree a little bit further from you, but you see those
No.
you see those eyes still watching you. You for a second you think you might have frightened it, but then you see two more coming up behind it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
It's
he'll like
not
get
frightened.
down.
It's getting reinforcements.
Yeah, and he'll actually get down a little bit, and he go, no, do not worry, We are here. We are being guided by Jal. Do not worry. If you are children of Faden, then I am as well. I am his eyes. We are together. Do not worry.
Do you have any kind of skill to use here? Any verbal skills?
I have a 3 in
You're a
charm.
good orator.
I have no skills though. No.
Yeah, give me a charm roll.
All right.
Just straight up charm roll.
That's gonna be a 4.
Now that these things have all grouped together in a line,
Mm-hmm.
They come out from behind the trees and they move toward you. And those, you can see now that they have teeth in their mouth, like rattlesnake fangs, 2 big rattlesnake fangs. Their mouths begin to open unnaturally long. We're going into action frames.
Mm-hmm.
And because you were shouting out to your god, I can't even say that your buddies have been alarmed, because that's what you do. That's the way you do your thing.
Yeah.
So they've heard nothing.
I was going to ask how long he's been gone.
Probably a few minutes, right?
Yeah, he's just been gone for a few minutes, and although the wind is loud, once in a while you would hear his voice because he's calling out loud, right, to his god. And this is not something unusual. You've heard him do this before, so it doesn't strike you as anything strange. Jesse, these things are leaping toward you with their jaws wide open.
Okay.
And you are?
At this point, I will reach like behind me and pull out the two axes. And I will just say, yell out at that point. It's like, so Faden has sent you to test me then. Yes, come. Let's do it.
Yeah, we're doing it all right. I've got 3 attacks coming your way. Do you have a multi-attack, or are you going to choose one of these?
No, I'm just going to choose one at a time.
All right, let's roll. The one in the center is going straight for the weapon arm. He's attempting to grab it in his teeth.
All right. Yeah, I'm just the first one that comes towards me. I'm just going to kind of give like a very kind of circular, like slashing across.
I've got a 6.
Me too. 6 + 1 is 7.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you actually hit. I get a yes, but all right. So I have.
So he's got armor on, right?
Oh,
don't forget your armor, Jesse. That's a different thing.
I do, but armor? It was.
So hide's going to cover your arms, right, with the bracers.
Yeah. Well, but I didn't like. I just put like, it's not like gear. It's not. It's like. I didn't buy. Like so plus. I didn't buy armor.
Well,
it's more like.
But leather is a +1, plate mail is a +3, hide would be like a +2, right? Like it's in that middle. Like not a +2, but like a 2. Like
I would call hide a +1 because +2 I would say more like chain.
But doesn't matter. I put down he's wearing hides, but I didn't like purchase. I didn't spend XP or anything on armor.
I will give you a +1 for that. So that means I've got a no, but you've got a yes and. let's resolve you first. You rolled higher. What are you doing?
All right. So yeah, as I swing, I pretty much crack this thing like across the head, and I would say it's like it was in a lunge when it came at me. So my force actually like pushes it to the side and hits and makes it like collide with one of the other creatures next to it.
Okay, what it was trying to do was bite the arm with the weapon in it. So
Yeah.
its mouth was coming right up to that arm. But instead, you just flicked your wrist around and slashed its jaw wide open. Its head has been split open. It is, in fact, solid. But as your blade moves through it, it turns into smoke like a chalk dust cloud. The ones on either side did not get close enough to attack you this round, so that's it, and it's time for the next frame. This guy is just, you struck him, and then he disappeared.
Have
you shouted out anything?
I mean, yeah, I've just right before my attack, like before we swung, as I pulled the axes out, I yelled out about, being tested by Jarl, by Fodden and everything like that. So I have yelled quite reasonably, I think.
Would you say that was yelling, like loud enough to be heard back at camp?
Oh yeah, probably. Like
I at least shouting at the gods, right?
Yeah, knowing his character, he's definitely shouting as loud.
Yeah, I'm yelling loud enough for Fodden above to hear me. So,
all right, so let's get psyche rolls from the other two guys. This is not quite hearing, but also kind of sensing danger.
I got a 3.
Oh, you sense nothing.
I have 1 in psyche.
That's a 6.
Yeah, Kurt, you know immediately something is wrong, and those are not the sounds Hot makes when he's calling to his god. He's fighting something.
So then Drake kind of slowly gets up and just kind of dusts himself off, like as nonchalantly as possible, and then he looks to Hallfrid and he says, "You do know your friend? Now, you're just part of the clan? You're not brother? Like, would you call each other brothers?"
I mean, probably in a clan sense, but I don't think we're actually blood related. Although, who knows, right? With the size of the clan, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you guys are probably related. So Drake is probably like, "So you're not going to save your brother?"
What? Is he in trouble? And he looks around, he like sticks his finger in his ear and he wiggles it around.
And
I have Drake not heard anything.
Drake goes, "Come," and he slowly just heads the way that he heard where Hothrafn was headed.
Cut back.
I think I brushed past you then.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's not getting there as quick as you are.
Jesse.
Yeah.
The other two have now gotten close enough. They're both each trying to bite one arm at this time. And what are you trying to do?
All right. So as they kind of begin to lunge, he's actually going to take the axe. And I'm assuming, are we in like a snowy landscape right now? You'd say?
You're in a very snowy landscape. There's a hard wind blowing. You have no cover around though, because you found a place. You found a clearing.
Right. So I'm actually going to take the axe and I'm going to turn it as almost like a shovel. And I'm going to attempt to like scoop some snow and toss it into the face of one of these creatures to kind of temporarily blind it or, at least obscure its vision.
Okay. Is there an attack skill of some kind that you think applies here?
I mean, unless it's a technique that I've used with my axe before.
I mean, you're using your axe.
I know. I know, but you don't just get the bonus for like having it in your hand while you do.
I know, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say no bonus for that. Go ahead and roll for me.
That's a 5.
Okay, I have a 6 here. You're getting bit, buddy. Your is it right arm? Your left arm. Is it high? No, it's your left forearm Are you
Okay.
left-handed or right-handed?
Right-handed.
Okay, so your non-weapon arm
Mhm.
is seized in these gigantic fangs that lock down on it and begin pulling. And you take 1 point of grace right away.
Okay.
And it's not letting go. It's like a rattlesnake or a parrot beak. It wants to break your bone.
Right. Yeah.
And your action, okay, this guy has a 6, the other guy had a 3.
Mm-hmm.
Your action is to shovel snow in the face of. I kind of want to roll dice now. Which one?
Let's see. We'll go high is the one on my arm, low is the one not on my arm. And that's a 3. That's low. So the one not on my arm right now.
Yeah, it's the other one. And your roll was a what?
3.
What'd you
My
roll yet?
roll was a 5.
Oh, that's a yes and. Okay.
All right.
This the snow hits this thing and it actually covers up its eyes. It shrieks. Now you guys at the camp hear this. Banshee scream comes from the woods, just maybe 50 meters away. And then it disappears in a puff of snow. The other one still on your arm. And let's cut back to the other guys.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I hear you, yeah.
Oh, and he's gone.
Oh, and he's gone.
Uh-oh.
That was odd.
Yeah, it was just like his camera went out, then he asked if he could hear, and then bye-bye.
Oh, wait.
This,
Who invites John back into the group?
right?
Oh, no. Yeah, I don't know how that works.
I have no idea.
Oh, I do.
He probably bops into the...
Hopefully.
He's going to jump out and back in, he says.
Okay.
Or he's
Drake,
going to jumpo out. He wrote.
He is. He's going to jumpo, which is cool. It's way cooler than jumping.
For sure.
It really is.
Stupid jumping.
So, Drake, you seem pretty laconic about this whole thing. Are you just strolling, or are you actually getting a move on?
Well, I'm going to assume that Hallfrid is kind of booking it after he hears the banshee scream.
That scream, yeah, that's not even like the loudest, highest, shrillest young woman you've ever heard. This is higher and shriller than that. This is a non-human sound.
Yeah. So I'm going to say that probably Hallfrid is probably booking it. So like
I am.
so then Drake is kind of says to himself, well, this should be fun. And then he kind of takes off running himself, but he doesn't take off in a full run like some people do, like pumping their arms and stuff like that. He does it kind of like a little kid where he puts his arms kind of to his side and kind of takes the wind out of it hitting him, and then just kind of runs with his head down.
Well, it's because Drake knows that Fodden has eyes on Hothrafn and would never let anything happen to him. So he's like, it's fine.
Yep, that must be it. That must be it. Drake totally believes that.
Yep.
If I'm close enough, I charge, or like if I'm within a distance to charge, I would charge, swinging my sword.
As you come into the clearing, you see this. I imagine you're still seeing it. You see it from behind, and it's got your buddy's arm in its mouth. It is tugging him. It's strong enough to perhaps tug him off his feet. It's not as big or as heavy as he is, but it's pulling with all of its might. And you are now, if you could throw something at this distance. But the moment you first see it, it's out in the middle of the clearing, and you just come into the clearing. So let's say 15 meters off. The moment you see it, you could throw something right now, or you could close the distance. What's your instinct?
I guess maybe since it's far away, instead I cast a defending spell on Hothrafn.
Ooh, very nice. Let's do that. What are you aiming to do? Let's hear it.
All right, so he runs out, kind of comes up short because it's sort of far away, and he makes the snap judgment of like, all right, this is going to be better. and he stops, and he's got the sword in one hand, and he kind of reaches out with the other hand, and he says in another language that sounds much cooler, uh, Great Mother Bear, protect Hothrafn, and like extends his hands out, and the runes start to glow a little bit, and everything's blowing around. And I guess we should probably roll first to see what happens, right, before we narrate.
I need to speak mechanics for just a minute.
Okay.
Are we trying to give him a +1, a +2? What are we trying to give him?
How about we try to give him a +2?
We should probably come up with a way of fictizing that, like a small protection, a medium protection, and a large protection, or something like that.
Yeah.
Just so that we don't talk numbers. But this does affect the difficulty that you're shooting for. So
right. And I wondered how we were going to figure that out. Yeah. So like a +2.
Yeah, this is going to be very hard. This is a 6.
It's going to be a 6. All right. Well, here we go. Oh,
now,
I failed you, my
using
brother.
or, oh my God.
No, I'm using brains. I got 3 in brains. My spellcasting is 2, but I rolled 3 3s, so that's only a 5.
Oh, we missed by 1. Yeah, okay, so there's something goes wrong with your spell, but you're also going to get this is a no but. So you can think about what the but part's going to be. You missed by just 1. So you cast your spell, but you said a word wrong, or you're about to say a word wrong, and you stopped in the middle of it, and then quickly tried to correct yourself, but then you said the wrong word. You completely fucking disoriented yourself. You're taking a -1. The spell does not have any effect. You began speaking and actually just sort of tried to correct yourself in the middle, and it was a bad idea. The spell just fails. However, it is possible to actually hurt yourself because you're putting your own magical energy into this thing. You avoid hurting yourself. That much is good, but the spell has no effect. Drake.
I'm going to get within the what Drake would think would be the right distance between him and Hothrafn. Boy, it's really hard to say your name. I just wish you just keep the H so I didn't have to fucking say it. Okay. Anyway, Hothrafn. Anyway. That's a good way to think of it. Anyway.
I think we might just call him Hot from here on out.
Yeah, for sure. He's so hot. Anyway. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to use my spell Transference, and I'm going to take the harm that he was dealt from this being, and he knows that he's in harm because of him, the thing kind of biting down on him, and he wants to transfer it to this beast.
Beautiful. That was 1 point of harm. So let me quick look up the DL for you. That's going to be a... Wow. Okay, this is an 8. Are you ready?
Jeez. No, I'm not.
What does it look like when you do this magic? How does it look?
Yeah, so basically he each one that he does takes a different stance. So for this one, when he's doing the transference, he actually gets his legs kind of he kind of spreads them out a little bit as he stands to kind of like this weird, like just apart equidistant kind of thing. And he will kind of take his hands and kind of swirl them in a way to where it looks like he's taking it from one item, and then he kind of puts his hand and kind of filters it out to another thing and kind of does his hands in another way where it's going to another item. And then he will say a bunch of words that most people that aren't in the school of Vitalia wouldn't understand.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Do we see any CGI?
Yes, you would. You would actually. It would take in the magic. It would take shape of, the first thing would be Hothrafn, and then the next thing would be this beast, and like so then depending upon if the spell works or not, would be how present in the CGI would actually the shapes
Gotcha.
would come out.
Gotcha. So we've got the wind whipping around. We've got the shrieking banshee noise. The two of these guys come into the clearing. Both of them attempt casting spells. As far as you know, Hot Jesse, nothing has happened yet. But you're expecting the effects of your brother's magic and your friend's magic to help you. You just see them off in the distance, and you know they're coming. That gives you a moment's hope. And let's see what happens with the spell. You need to beat 8.
Ugh. I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll find out. Okay, so then I have a question then. So because I'm taking this harm from Hothrafn, am I using his stat as what I'm rolling for that?
Oh, no. The amount of damage you're transferring is where the difficulty comes from.
Okay.
But other than that, like it could be any two creatures. So it's I'm gonna guess psyche.
Yeah.
Right. You use psyche
Yeah,
for
definitely.
this.
Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
so it's a psyche roll, and you get a +3 because that's your level in Vitalia magic.
In Vitalia. Okay.
We want a 6 in there.
It's a 9.
Yes.
Nice.
I got 2 6s, baby. 2 3s, 2 6s.
Drake, that is a yes. And so I'll tell you the first part. Hot, your arm is in this thing, and you can feel that it wants to snap the bone. It's starting to tug you off your feet. Just at that moment, out of the corner of your eye, you see your brothers come entering the clearing, and they start waving their hands around. At that moment,
Brother and Drake.
yeah. I'm speaking in shorthand because
I
this
know.
thing hurts, right?
Yeah.
At that moment, your skin literally repels the teeth outward, pushing its mouth open again, while the teeth rot and fall out of its mouth. The creature screams in pain and dissipates in a cloud of smoke. And now you get an action.
So when they dissipate into smoke, is there any like residue or dust or anything that's left in the area?
Yeah, everybody makes psyche rolls. Tell me your highest.
3.
6.
Can I get a +1 because I didn't get an and?
The end was the teeth fell out, probably.
Oh,
right?
the T. Okay, all right. Shut up,
No,
John.
no.
You're supposed to let Todd answer that. Jeez.
No,
I'm saying probably.
the and. You're right. You get your and.
Oh, nice. That's a 5 for me.
After all that, you've heard tales of ancient battles long before you guys were born that took place between the ferocious tribes who used to rule these lands long ago. Their names may have been lost to history, or if you were a historian, you might be able to cough them up. But all you know is that long, long ago, you're passing through an area that was a battlefield in which many thousands were slain, and that the losing sides, their souls were put into subservience to the evil god of the victors. Some of those souls remain to this day, haunting the ground on which they were slain, hating all life. That's who these are. The best word we have is shadow people.
All right. At that point, could
2 XP for Hot, 1 XP for Drake.
So Hothrafn wants to attempt to assist these souls into returning to the good graces of Beal, of the god of war. And so
How would you do that?
I would like to create a monument, create a focal point of the energy within the nature, in almost like a bridge for them to connect to travel over.
A rainbow bridge?
No, like a beacon that will call them to it, while at the same time alerting Beal to their presence, so that he can pull them back into his army of the afterlife.
Okay, and the magical art that you're using is?
I didn't choose one. Let's see. I mean, I did. All right. So can we walk through a little bit then? Because I kind of just did spell casting.
Okay, so the magical arts, do you have them in front of you?
I can.
They're in the big doc, but they're also in that smaller doc that I sent. Okay, there's like 15 of them.
Yeah.
Those are treated as specialties.
Okay.
So just like other specialties, you choose one. That's the one you get your full mod in. And then when you try any of the others, you're at a -1.
Gotcha.
Unless you spend extra XP to buy them up individually, which you can now do, but that's another thing.
Let's see. So I think his main one would be in, where are they? Here we go.
Divining, right?
Yeah, I was going divination. Like, I think like his main thing would be, he has basically like 2 things. It's like divination and augury. It would be like, communing with nature to find the truth, but also at the same time attempting to look for signs of the future. So it would be divination with like a secondary in augury.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but it sounds like making the rainbow bridge is sort of outside your usual forte, so you're going to be at a -1.
It is, yes. All right.
Okay, and it's also not easy, my friend. You need to hit 6.
That is a 6 + 2 - 1 is 7.
Whoa!
I rolled 3 6s and a 5. That's insane.
I forgot to give you an XP for being wounded, so take 2 XP right now, and tell me what this bridge looks like.
All right. So actually, it doesn't so much show up as a. So what he does is uses branches and rocks and everything from the area to create a almost like a teepee style mound in the middle of this clearing. And he draws, clears a big circle around it and everything, and then clears a small path kind of forward. And once it all completes, there's a dim glow, almost like a fire burning within, but it's this kind of white light. And it draws along the trail and opens up almost a doorway of sorts, where you see the outline of this figure of a mighty warrior, and Beal actually forms on the other side. And at that point he begins. Yes.
And you see these wispy, shadowy humanoids approaching from all sides. There must be 50 of them. And when they come to the edge of the clearing, standing between the trees, they just sort of shoot into the center and they're gone. One after the other. And then the light just sort of flares up and sinks back down. And you're left with just a mound of snow.
There you go. And I imagine too, like as they as like these shadow figures appear on the edge, as they light up before they get sucked into the gateway, you actually see like their previous like human form as they are reconstituted into their original soul and then shot through the gate.
You get an and. Are you do you have an idea for that? Or is that the end?
How about can I kind of hold an and as like a blessing? So like I have almost like maybe like an extra die or something in a future case, just in case.
You know
like
what?
a boon from the god, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like I returned Bale's warriors to him, so he's kind of like looking over my shoulder a little bit right now.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the way we're gonna play this out. You at the moment the light flares up and then goes back out again. You feel like a touch, a warmth inside you. It feels like you're being thanked. It feels like you're being patted on the head. It feels like you did a good thing. And you feel that energy in you still.
Mm-hmm.
You feel positive. You feel hopeful. You feel that this mission will be a success.
Mm-hmm.
You feel that you're blessed by Beal. Now, mechanically, you're holding a +1.
Yeah.
I'm gonna forget.
I'll write it down.
But at the moment, Beal thinks you're in the worst danger. That's when it will happen.
Sounds good. All right. And yeah, so he kind of, you see him kind of like relax. He's like, oh, and he's like all excited and super excited. And like the gateway immediately disappears. And he's like, and then goes, oh no. And he like immediately like destroys the mound that he made and like wipes it all out. And he's like,
you basically just invented the spell. No, your brothers have never seen anything like this.
Oh yeah. Because that's like there's no like he doesn't do like spells. It's like it's feeling. It's all just in the moment.
Yeah, you guys just saw
Alfred's
something miraculous.
Yeah, he's kind of like wild-eyed, like he's got the sword up and he's watching these things sort of like come in, and then he's like start shooting past us, and he's like wants to swing, but like clearly, Hothrafn's doing something, and then when it's all over, he's like, "What was that? What?"
And Hothrafn will just walk and like put a hand on Hallfrid's shoulder and be like, "Why are you awake, brother? You should still be asleep. Go to bed. We have much journeying to do tomorrow."
I love it.
And at that point he'll walk and he'll actually look at Drake and like give him kind of a side glance, but then like give him the tiniest nod of the head and then like walk back to the camp.
In a words escape me. I'm sorry. Unlike Drake's character, he does give him a little bit back of recognition, but again, just in the slightest. But that'll be the last time he probably does that.
Alfred just kind of like shakes his head, like there was this immense danger, and then this crazy stuff happens, and then like maybe these two just shared a moment, although I don't know if he would pick up on it. And he just kind of like throws the sword over his shoulder and trudges back towards the campsite.
I kind of feel like you were the person they were hiding that glance from, and the only people who saw it is the viewing audience at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely.
Sweet. All right, so we'll pick up in a minute. We got Jesse's taking a little break.
It was his turn.
Everybody gets one.
Yeah, what you guys just saw, if you weren't magic users yourselves, that would have been a psyche roll just for seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
But because you're both magic users, you both recognize, wow, this guy's, to you, it's just like, hey, he's pretty fucking good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I've dealt enough with like life and death that kind of stuff doesn't really scare me that much. So it's more of like a recognition, like, oh, this is what he's performing. You know, he doesn't know exactly what it is, but he knows the gist of it.
Yeah, even though you don't recognize shadow people and you're from a different land, so you don't know the history of this land, you still sort of, your whole magic shtick.
Mm-hmm.
You do recognize these as spirits of the dead, and you may not know why, but obviously they're disgruntled over something.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
sent them somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Hallfrid's more of a fighter, but he's been, sort of blessed with this ability that sort of commingle the defending and the animal speech, right? Because of the way it ties into the the myths that the tribe tells, or the religion, or however you want to look at it, that he's not quite. And now I think maybe I should have flipped brains and psyche now that this is sort of playing out, that it's more of a intuitive thing than it is
I
like
kind
a
of think, yeah.
thinking thing. I don't know if you want me to switch them now, or if it,
Well, you know what? Better now than like 6 episodes down the road, right?
yeah. All right.
We haven't gotten in too deep.
Okay, I think that makes more sense. I'll move my spell casting then. So, like, if he, thinks that, like, again, like the spell would be more important than me trying to smash the thing, that he just sort of intuits it, as opposed to like really thinking about it per se,
Yeah,
right? Like he's
absolutely.
being guided by the, by the Great Bear Mother.
Yeah, which I think works well with the magical arts rules in core. The whole idea is just like skills, you're supposed to sort of think of it as a springing off point for some other idea. So be flexible, be creative with it. The next 2 days go without encounters, and the weather warms up a little bit. The wind dies down a little bit. It's still super cold, of course, but it's your more normal kind of cold. And you guys make it to the village of Burblenook. I'm going to share that map with you in a minute, but first, everybody take 1 XP. Yeah, that's the one I want. I really hate the screen sharing interface on this thing. Because it only gives you a list of like your top 5 tabs. And I'm the type of person who usually has 15 things open. All right, so you approach from the southwest side. So there's these 2 little buildings coming up.
Okay.
That the larger of the two buildings, the one closer to you, it looks like a shop of some kind. And there's a woman. There's an open door, and you can see a woman walking around inside, like sort of dusting and cleaning. When she sees you guys, she looks at you and smiles and waves. Not like she knows you, but kind of a howdy, stranger.
Yep. Alfred waves back. I think he'll amble over towards the woman.
Okay, she sets her broom down and she says, are you coming to stay or just passing through? We haven't seen a lot from your clan lately.
Passing through, I think we heard down south that PQ has gone missing. We came up to see if we could offer any assistance.
PQ, P2 Bloderrappen? Well, I don't know anything about that, but perhaps we can be of assistance. You see, come on in. My husband here, Armand, he's an alchemist, and I do a little magic of my own. Perhaps you could find something here that you like. And you see a very nicely kept, although sort of really rustic-looking shop with different potions, and there's even spell components, different types of herbs and dried fruits, and like bats' wings and lizards' eyes, and they've got it all here.
He goes in. I don't know if the other two follow, but he just starts making small talk. Like he'll pick stuff up and look at it, like maybe he'd be interested, but he's really just trying to get some information.
Oh, if it's information that you're looking for, you might want to go to Ruby's Nest. That's where the travelers hang out. The adventurers. You're an adventurer, yes?
Yes. But you didn't see her. She didn't stop here at your shop on the way through.
Oh no! I think that I would have noticed that if a legendary warrior came through here. No. Uh, there's a lot more important, significant places up in the northern wastes. I don't see why PQ would have even wasted their time stopping here.
Yeah, if it's on the way between here and there, time to stop for a hot meal and a horn of ale.
Armand pops up from behind the counter. He literally pops up like a jack in the box, and he says, "You want the warm meal and the hot meat and the meal and the sweets, and that's where you go to Ruby's. Go on down to Ruby's Nest, and they'll take care of you good." You can't tell if this guy's drunk or if he just something wrong with his brain, but he scrambles his words up and he's smiling and kind of drooling a little bit.
He looks at him, and then he looks over at Hothrafn, and then kind of shakes his head. Says, "You guys see anything that you like before we head out to Ruby's? Any thing you need to stock up on?"
And Hothrafn's actually over there. He has a jar of some kind of mixture of eyes. And he's not looking at it, though. He's like listening to it. He has it like cupped in his hands, and he's like listening. He's like, oh, okay. Okay. And he'll take it, put it back on the counter. No! And just walk his way out.
Jalessa has gone back into the corner with her husband, and she's leaning over the counter, and he's leaning over the other side of the counter, and they're whispering to each other.
Can I try to overhear? Be like a listening awareness kind of thing?
You don't have like an awareness skill, do you?
I don't, no.
Yeah, we call it a psyche if you give me a 6.
All right, I will attempt to do so. No, 2 1s and a 4.
Yeah, no, It does strike you as a little bit suspicious because you kind of get the hint they're whispering about you.
He just passes it off like he can't hear, so he'll just wait till they get outside before mentioning it. Maybe he makes eyes at Drake and kind of like lifts his chin and then like tilts his head at them, whispering.
And then the guy he pops back down below the counter and he pops back up several feet over, and he's like, "Oh, you're talking about PQ. I thought you said something else. PQ below the Hothrafn, right? The place, the person with the legendary, you know what I mean? Yeah, she was here actually. Bought some potions, and then headed north, hunting the snargle.
Hunting a snorkel. Did she say
Oh,
what
yeah.
her destination was?
Snargle.
Just the snargle. Does anyone here in Bumble Nook know where this snargle may make its lair?
Well, snargle snatches usually live, up in the mountains. Come down to eat the people. Come back, go back up to sleep. They spend a lot of time sleep. I don't know a whole lot about snargles, but he sort of stares into space for a long time. And he goes, PQ was here. Bought some potions just before she headed up north. Hunting snorkel.
Oh, thank you. That is most helpful.
Yeah, I always like to be helpful. See anything you like? Talk to my wife, Giselda. And he pops back below the counter again. It's kind of amazing how quick he pops up and down.
He looks to her and says, "Well, we appreciate the help, but kind of waves his hand. Says, "It seems like we have what we need. Perhaps on the way back, we may need to stop before heading south again."
Sure. Because you always have important things to do. I understand, but we do have some healing potions. We've got some tinctures and we've got some ointments. You always could use some ointments. You're walking a long way, right? Heading up north, are you?
So it would seem.
Yeah. You're going to need some of these things. Now, I don't want to tell you what to do with your money, of course, but you're not going to get another stop. Not after this place. That's the wasteland up there.
We'll keep that in mind. We need to dry off and warm up a little bit.
Oh, well, all right. She actually pats your face if you let her. And she says, "Oh, so brave, so young." Okay, boys. You'll come back when you need it. And she picks up her broom and goes back to sweeping.
And Hallfrid walks back out.
You guys, there's a weird smell in that place. Everybody give me a brains roll.
6.
5.
6.
Yeah, you all know what it was. It was sulfur. Really strong smell of sulfur in that place. And all around the place, actually.
It's Backwana.
Probably, right?
Is my map still up there?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So you guys are way down in the lower left corner in that very first building. The lowest of them all. Now, that little building behind there seems to be the cottage where Giselda and Armand live.
He just says to them, before Armand was so forthcoming with their information, they were in private conversation. It seemed as if they were, I couldn't really overtell, but it looked like they were pointing at us, talking about us. I don't think anything strange is going on here, do you?
I mean, they could have just been in matrimonial conversation. I mean, maybe maybe they were looking to spice things up, and they think that a stranger running into town would be just the thing. Alfred.
Drake shakes his head at Hothrafn and then looks at Hallfrid and says, "There is something they are not telling us."
We should be on our toes then at Ruby's.
I think at this village, I think we should be on our toes at all times. Do you mind, Hallfrid, if I check on you?
He holds his arms up to the sides and kind of like spins around.
Yeah. Drake wasn't really excited for the fact that Hallfrid let that lady touch his face. So he is gonna cast diagnosis, and he's gonna see if she did anything to him when she did that.
That is a great idea.
I mean, Alfred is kind of surprised because he was just like sort of jokingly like, here I am, take a look. And then he like starts doing his thing and he's like, whoa, wait, what are you doing?
Yeah, so go ahead and roll. Give me your total here. We'll see what you figure out.
Before, as he's doing it, he tells Hallfrid, he says, never let a stranger come in contact with you if you don't know their intentions. That's a 9.
Yeah, you beat a 5 easily. She didn't do anything to him. But there is something on his face. There's a slight wetness, and it's not in him. It's just sort of left on him, like maybe a snail trail.
Okay. He takes a handkerchief out of his pocket and begins to. Is it dry? It's dry here, you said, right? Or is it still wet around?
Oh, the wind has died down, but you're in an Arctic area.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep. So he's gonna find some snow and just kind of put it into his handkerchief and kind of make it a little damp, and then just proceed to wipe away whatever was left on him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he kind of like jerks
Very
back
touching.
and he says, what was that? Did she do something?
She may have marked you to keep tabs.
And he kind of like, he starts to like puff himself up and like kind of starts to take a step towards the door, and then he stops himself. He says, no, that's all right. Good advice. Thank you. Thank you for catching that.
And then he kind of slightly nods to him.
In the center of town, which is just sort of that vague roundish area in sort of the middle of this whole thing, you can see a couple people setting up carts, because now that the weather's getting a little bit nicer, looks like they're setting up the little marketplace, village market.
I mean, I guess we head that way and see what's going on in the market before actually hitting Ruby's. What do you guys think?
Word of mouth is always the best way to find someone who's lost.
Well, there's a number of different stalls. There's different kinds of fruits and meats and dried goods. Most of the stuff is consumables here. And remember, this town does occasionally get traveling wanderers or, like adventurous souls. It's like sort of like the last stop on your way to the northern marshes. So there's sort of a focus here on stuff you need on the road, like high calorie, high density, high protein dried goods and breads and that sort of thing. Stuff that you can put in your pack and take with you. They very much cater to the traveler up here. So if you guys wanted to stock up, this might be a good time to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, what does our supply situation look like?
Well, you're not wealthy people, and you have been on the road for 3 days. You don't really want to carry too much more than you have to. So my guess is you're about out of food, right?
Okay. Yeah, I will pick up some dried meats.
Yeah.
I mean, we could make water, right? I mean, there's enough snow that we can get a fire going. And
I just did make water.
Oh, well, actually, just a little bit north of the. I wish I could like mark this with a pointer and you could see it and stuff like that.
if you
Okay,
use
so
the mouse on that screen, we should be able to see your mouse moving around.
You think so? Do you see
I
my
think so.
mouse?
Yep.
Yeah, look at that.
Wow. Okay, so this whole area here is the market. I never knew that. That's amazing. This is the market right here. But right up here, you can see there is a well.
Okay. I'm sure we probably do have water skins, right? I mean, that would be.
Yeah, but again, you've been, well, there's snow everywhere. It's not like it's hard for you to find water.
Yeah. But if we have skins, it would make sense to fill up those as well.
Yeah. Okay, so there's really nobody around except for these farmers. And it's fairly early in the morning, so you don't expect a whole lot of people to be up. But you do hear a little bit of noise and what you think might even be music from this L-shaped building way up here. And the sign in front says Ruby's Nest. It's got a picture of a bird sitting in a nest. It's a 2-story building, and it's clearly an inn and tavern.
Shall we?
Yeah. Hothrafn kind of stumbles his way in.
Inside, there's a tavern area, bar on the ground floor. There's actually 4 people just sort of sitting around here. Although it's early morning, they're leaning over their drinks and just sort of they're starting pretty early. They've got their beers and the sun is just barely starting to come up. The farmers are just setting up the farmers market. These guys are already working on their drinks. And then there's a middle-aged female walking around. She's back behind the bar, sort of going backwards and forwards. When she sees you guys, she pops down below and then pops up again right near the front door, where she's got a drawer and a couple placards with the specials for today on it. Offers you a hand and says, "Hey, I'm Ruby." Everyone here, by the way, is dressed in warm fur. It's really cold inside here. Brainsful, everybody.
5.
3.
6.
Yeah. So this hot. You're not thinking about this. Maybe you're looking at Ruby, but the other 2 guys are like, you kind of expected the fire to be going. If you walk into a tavern, there's a fireplace right over there, but everybody's wearing like 3 layers of fur and shivering.
She extends her hand, and I look at Drake, and then I look at her, and then I sort of, for a huge man, sort of timidly shake her hand.
So does she pop down and pop up like out of existence, or does she just? Are you just saying she was one place and then she just kind of walked over?
No, I'm thinking almost like a gopher.
I mean,
yeah,
not as fast as a gopher, but
right,
in a way that seems almost comically fast. Both her and Armand back at the shop, like they don't walk from one place to another. They pop down below the counter and then move over there and pop up again. They do it real fast.
Yeah, so Hothrafn actually, as Hallfrid shakes her hand, he like ducks underneath their handshake and like walks backwards looking at her, and he's like, I know. And then he'll walk over to a chair. He doesn't sit in the chair. He examines the chair, but he doesn't sit in the chair. Almost like
Okay.
he's never seen a chair before.
When you sit down, all four of the other patrons look up at you simultaneously, and they consider you for just a couple seconds, and then they all look down.
Yep. He looks at the chair like, what is this for? And when he sits down, he looks like almost surprised when it happens. And he's like, oh, okay, yes. I see.
Hallfrid, Ruby is explaining to you the specials of the day. If you want to stay at the inn, that's 20 silvers a night. Comes with a hot breakfast and dinner. Got a dozen open rooms on the second floor, and here are your specials. You can take that back to the table. Just call me over when you're ready.
He's like sort of absently nods and he says, why do you not have a fire?
Oh, I like to keep it colder in here. I'm from this land, and maybe if you're not used to it, it seems a bit cold. But no, it is the way we like it. Oh yeah, it's the way we like it.
Huh. Oh, all right.
If you want to warm up, though, I can serve you some ale. It'll warm you up. Got some great mead. My husband makes it. We've got some stuff that we've just brought in from the last caravans come through. Are you a drinking man?
Yeah, yes, three meads, please.
Coming right up. And she pops down straight down below the counter, and you don't see her pop up again.
So he wanders over to where Hothrafn is. He says, "What do you make of this place? This is just not normal."
And he'll kind of trace his finger along the table a little bit, and then like hop up and take the chair and turn it on its side. And then it says, "No, it is not. There is not good here. I don't think there is."
Before anybody has a response, Drake stands up, doesn't even tell Hothrafn or Hallfrid what he's doing, and he strolls up to the spot where he thinks the drinks are, and goes to grab himself a drink himself and sees if anybody reacts to that.
Okay, so it's a big keg, and it's on the other side of the counter. You could either walk all the way around the counter, or you could get up on the counter and sort of lean over.
Yep, he's gonna lean over and just attempt to do that and see what happens.
Brains roll.
Okay. A 6.
Yeah, you very slyly look to the left and look to the right. You can see the full length of the space behind the bar. She's not here.
Okay. And then I go to pour myself a drink and then go to sit down and see if anything happens.
Nothing happens at all. When you sit down, the other patrons all look up at you, and they regard you for a couple seconds, and they look back down at their drinks again.
So Drake looks at Hallfrid and looks at Hothrafn and says, these townspeople are not who we think they are. It seems like they're on a loop.
Just then, she pops up from behind the counter. She's got a tray. It's got 3 ales, and she whisks on out to you and like sets it down on the table. Says 3 ales for 3 boys. Meat. I'm sorry, 3 meats for 3 boys. I got you the right thing. I didn't get you the wrong thing. I got you the right thing. You guys just enjoy your meat. If there's anything else you want, my name is Ruby. I know that you have places to go. Searching for someone lost in the north. Better get moving. Okay, see you later. And she pops down between 2 tables, and you didn't even see where she went.
So I've been kind of turning this chair a little bit on the ground, and he'll I'll kind of pick it up, put it off to the side, and it's made this little kind of like circle almost from it when it's been spinning.
Sweet.
And at that point, he'll draw a person kind of in the middle of the circle, and he'll start to kind of stroke it a little bit, and he'll say, Litna, who's she's the goddess of like life and fertility and everything, and say, please let me know if these people belong to you or not. If you would be so very, 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 very kind. And he kind of wants to see if the people around him have any connection to life's thread, if they're truly here, or if they're kind of like a husk of such, especially with Drake saying they're kind of on a loop. He wants to know if they're like if they're alive, if they're still real or not, or if they're copies. People.
Yeah, I get it. You met shadow people on the way up here, and this would be
exactly
sort of a different form of a shadow of a person. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. We are going to make a spellcasting roll in a moment. I'm going to give you a DL. Let me think about this. This is divination, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Beat a 4.
All right, I got a 6, 4 plus 2. So.
Yeah, so take an experience point for yes and think about what your and is going to be. The little humanoid figure in the middle of your circle feels warm to your touch. You place your index finger on it, and you feel the power coming up through your hand and spreading from your hand out to the rest of the circle. You know that you're seeing truth right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so you close your eyes and you just trust your senses. You see a hand. It's not your hand. Each of the fingers and thumbs has a human head on it. There's Ruby. There's that guy over there. There's that lady over there. These are the Ruby and the patrons of the bar. Their heads are all on one hand, and the hand is not yours, and it's not human. And then the vision is over.
All right. As my and, could I ask a question? Do I potentially see the arm or the extension where the hand leads to?
Yes. The fingers pop up into the room you're in, and the palm of the hand is directly beneath you in the basement. There's something in the basement.
All right. So yeah, he'll very quickly kind of erase, like dust out the circle and the figure and everything, and he'll stomp on the ground a few times.
At this, all of the patrons look up in your direction. They're all watching very keenly now.
Mm-hmm. And
the other two guys, what are you doing while he's doing all this?
I probably pull the meat like half to my lips, like watching him, and then as he gets more agitated, I put it down, and then look over to Drake and I say, "Don't drink that."
Drake doesn't even pull it to his lips. He just kind of looks to Hallfrid and nods like, yeah, I was, probably wasn't a good idea in the first place kind of thing.
I give it a good sniff though, to see if it smells funny. Does it smell like meat or does it smell off?
It smells like normal mead, but you know what? There is another smell in this place. It's like sulfur.
Do you smell that?
I do.
Same as the shop.
Yes. One would think that all of this is connected.
Hothrafn, what were you doing? What did you see? Anything?
He'll go shh, shh, and he'll like rub the top of his head and go shh. and he'll kind of like gesture for you to come close.
I lean in. I'm used to this stuff.
Yeah. And you say, the hand is down there.
He turns his eyes up
And he'll look at you like wide. He'll like lean back wide-eyed and like lift his hand up and like wiggle his fingers.
Right, like I never know exactly what you're talking about, but I trust that you know what you're talking about, even if I can't understand it.
Yeah.
So
And he'll at that point he'll like reach it, he'll like pinch his thumb and wiggle it, and then like point to Ruby, be like, "Huh? Right? Oh, see."
I almost feel like I should make a brains roll, see if I can.
I don't think it makes sense.
I mean, you know, but coupled with what Drake said, right? Like, okay, so what are you saying? Is this not real? Is there?
Oh no! It's real. But no, them no. Yes, but they're not them. But yes.
And Drake kind of does another big sigh and kind of looks to Hallfrid and says, "These are the puppets. We must find the puppeteer."
Yes.
And when you say that, Ruby calls over from the other side of the room. "You boys doing good over there? Have you decided on some kind of breakfast, perhaps? We can fry up some eggs. Everybody loves eggs. You love eggs, right? I think everybody loves eggs, don't they? You love eggs?"
Hothrafn yells like top of his lungs across the bar. He's like, "You silence, mater! Silence!"
Her eyes go really big, and she just looks at you for a few seconds. And then she pops down below the bar.
Hothrafn, you said below?
Yes.
He, stands up from the table. The chair kind of like pushes back, sort of like scratches across the floor. And he says, "We must find the door then."
Hmm.
The other four patrons are all looking at you now.
I don't think I care.
Yeah. Hothrafn looks at them now and he's like, "Shh."
Like I don't pull the sword or anything, but like he's sort of casting about looking for like a pull door, like a trap door on the floor, or if there's a door that leads sort of away and not upstairs, right? I also have a mechanical question.
Okay, and what's everybody else doing while you're glancing around?
Hothrafn is kind of rummaging through his satchel. He has a small bowl of something that he's looking for. It's a mess in there though. He's got like sticks and animal carcasses and like dried up fruit and everything that he's kind of rummaging with.
Brains roll for Hallfrid.
All right. 6. Coming back around.
Yeah. Okay, so there's going to be a yes and. It's going to be a weird and. Think about that. You decide to pretend you're fixing your shoe. So you bend over and you're messing with your shoe, and you look to the right and you look to the left, and then you look over there by where one of those patrons is sitting just across the table from another one. And you see something weird. It's like a line, a thin, maybe inch wide, like a shadow, but it's sort of a dark pink color. It stretches out from the foot of this guy, goes that way, back behind the bar. And then you see another shadow stretching out from under the foot of the other guy, goes off behind the bar in the same direction. There's sort of this. Okay, so there's like a pink line. It's got a little bit of thickness to it, like a snake trying to flatten itself out.
Mm-hmm.
Connecting both, like a power cord from the bottom of their foot going back behind the bar.
Okay.
And
I mean, do we go for the super obvious and they don't get up to impede us? It seems like a cop out. Shit, I don't know. You guys have anything?
okay. And you can tell by the way these people all respond at once and look up and look down at once that they will all attack at once. And if you're going to make any sudden move, you're going to have to take that into account. There's going to be 4 of them all acting at once.
Okay. So I stand back up and I sort of like straighten myself out and, put my hands on the table and I lean down to those 2 and I say, there is to use your, well, we wouldn't say metaphor, right? I don't think he's that smart. Fuck. I don't know what dumber word to use.
I think you just use
Saying or something.
You use it with your eyebrows indicating italics, like your hand is right over there.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. He says, I believe the door that leads to your puppet master is behind the bar, but those 4 will try to impede us. They may not be who they once were, or they may be unwitting pawns. And then I have a mechanical question.
Sure.
So as far as like spell, because it's not D&D, how long would a spell typically last for, right? So like if I cast protection now on these 2, does it last for a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes?
You tell me roughly what you're shooting for. Like, I want to be protected for the next couple hours, and that determines the DL.
Okay.
That's part of what determines the DL.
I would say, because I think if one of us starts to cast, it triggers whatever is going to happen is going to happen. But because I failed before, I want to, fulfill my role as protector. That's eerie shades of Jack Nash. And beseech the great bear mother to protect my comrades as we go forth. So I want to give them each a minor protection. So say like a +1 mechanically, for the next few minutes, right? So like D&D combat frames are short little pockets of time, right? So like even a minute is longer than any combat is ever going to last, right? Like,
right. But I mean, you're just basically, you'll get used to it, right? You phrase it narratively and I'll try to interpret you mechanically. And if I have a question, I'll ask for clarification. But if you said something like, we're just asking for a small amount of your protection in what we were about to do.
Yeah.
That works.
Okay. All right. It's kind of loosey-goosey, so I'm trying to find my footing because there's no crunch for me to like put my feet on.
Yeah. So in what we are about to do kind of implies like the next scene or whatever. That'll work.
Okay. Yep.
Because in real life, that's what you say. You don't know how many minutes it's going to be.
Right.
Please protect me while I'm down at the DMV.
You're right. That's all day.
And then I could imagine if we're doing this like narrative. I mean, obviously we're doing it narratively, but like I could see
Put
like
a hand on each of your shoulders.
Well, no, even like so, like if we're talking about like the length at which the spell would last, like perhaps like a no and attack from an opponent could like break through the spell and end it, or like a no but could break your, like a no and could like means like you break your concentration
Yeah, it's
during
just a
it.
pile up. Like you're
yeah.
you're carrying a +1 right now. That's nothing that's ever happened in a core game before. So I think we
Yeah.
have to be willing to play with it a little bit, especially when you're talking about something like a deity, because ostensibly they're going to be judging you by your actions, not by your mechanics or by your words.
Right.
So it's like what your character actually ends up doing. I have to make a quick call as to whether that makes the deity happy. There's no way to mechanize that. We just have to kind of remember it and go with it. So I think that's cool. So let's say beta 6 for me, John.
All right, I hope so. Oh, there's a 6 in there. I got an 8.
That is a yes. And now you said to protect your companions, but you didn't say yourself. I think for the and you should throw yourself in there.
Okay, fair. I like that.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been thinking about it that way, but like maybe she she senses that and is like, stupid. What about you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. I think that's a good and. So all of you now have an extra 1 armor.
Woo-hoo.
Nice. Does that trigger anything, or because he like puts his hands on each of their shoulders, kind of like has his head down, is muttering a prayer? I assume like there's some little bit of glowy CGI bits or whatever. Does that trigger a reaction, or?
The patrons are all very interestedly looking over in your direction, but it doesn't seem to have triggered anything. And when your spell is over and you look up in each other's eyes, you realize that you're blessed. Now is the moment. It won't last forever, but you feel the energy.
Yeah, I think Hallfrid turns, like draws the sword,
Mm-hmm.
and then starts walking towards the back of the bar.
Yeah. Yeah, and Hothrafn has found what he wanted in his bag, and when he kind of comes up, he has a hand that he drags down his face, and it leaves this like trail of black just down the middle of his face.
Oh.
Just rubbed, like he's rubbed coal like down, like marking his readiness for this.
Ooh, you're really scary, man.
It's the mark of Odin.
Okay, so we're all going just back to the edge of the bar and around.
Mm-hmm.
I think actually what I want to do.
A way to walk around a bar.
Do we want to cut off the fingers first before we go to the hand?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think I actually want to try to see if I could sever that thread. Right, but you have to walk over there to, like, we got to be next to them to do it, right? But like I know where it is.
Well, they're all sitting closer to the bar than you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to walk past them anyway, but you could get, sort of keep your distance from them, make it to the bar, or you could walk close to them. That's up to you.
I walk close because I want to cut the thread.
Okay.
At least on one of them, right? And see what happens.
Okay. So as soon as you walk close to one of them, they all look up in your direction, and the one closest to you says, "Hi, my name is Ralph. I'm a trapper. And you?"
Your savior. He swings the sword at the thing.
Oh yeah, give me that roll. Okay, we're in action frames, everybody. Everybody decide what you're going to do in a second, but Hallfrid's going first.
Besides rolling his eyes, he'll do other stuff.
I have a 6 total. I don't know if it's a called shot or.
I don't think you really need to consider calling it. I understand you're trying to hit the tendril, and it's actually doing nothing. It's a DL2, but when you hit it, it resists more than you thought it would. Like a steel reinforced garden hose or something. You do hit it. You do put a nick in it. And at that point, all 4 patrons scream. Okay, now we're really in action frames.
All right.
I've got 1 of them on each of you, 2 of them on Hallfrid.
I am going to berserk.
Oh, yeah, I think you should.
Fuck, I am not gonna berserk.
John, this little trapper dude right in front of you and the woman who's sitting at this other table right over here, they both fly at you like, oh my God, 2 fingers of the same hand trying to grip you between them, and just they're literally trying to tear into you with their fingers. I've got a 5 and a 4. What do you got?
So my attack roll is a 4. My defensive roll, or my defense, is going to be 4 as well. So I got a 2 on the die. The +1 for the hide, +1 for the blessing.
Okay, you've got 2 against me right now. That turns my 5 and 4 into a 3 and a 2. And your adjusted total was
4 for attack, 4 for defense.
Yeah. Neither one of these things is hitting you. In fact, I think what happens is, as you're swinging downward, they're both trying to come up to the spot where you just were a second ago. You just like duck quickly beneath them, and they smash into each other.
Okay.
You take no damage at all. And are you like, how do you work this swing in?
So yeah, I think like he hits the tendril and it kind of resounds a little bit, and he just kind of comes up in a big swing and tries to get both of them, almost like a baseball swing.
Now they're like face to face. You're trying to sever both their heads at once, right?
Yeah.
Because that is a yes and. So you actually do sever both their heads.
Nice.
Yeah. 2 human heads fall to the floor. All 4 heads still screaming. And what's left, their bodies, their clothing falls to the floor, and you see really quick, it's just for a blink of an eye, these 2 pink snakes that get withdrawn quickly back behind the counter. There's nothing here but a pile of clothing and a bunch of blood on the floor. And the 2 screaming heads quickly stop screaming. Drake and Hot, what are you doing? Oh, these are the 2. They're coming at you. I know what you're doing. You're trying to defend yourself. Drake, I got a 6. I'm coming at you with a 6. Hot, I got a 1. This one fucked up bad.
So Hothrafn is that chair that he had used previously to make the circle on the ground. As this thing rushes towards him, he actually reaches back, grabs the chair, and just tosses it at this thing, trying to distract it, trying to impede its movement.
This is an old man with very long hair. It's a tall, thin old man with very long hair, and you're trying to smack this old fucker.
Yeah. So I got a 4.
Oh, a 4 is a yes and, man. You not only do a point of damage to him, but something else good happens. What is it?
That the so unlike the one that Hallfrid, the 2 that Hallfrid just decapitated, where the little pink snake runs off, he throws it, and the thing it ends up actually getting like entangled in the chair.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's tangled up in the chair, and the guy is squealing in a sound that doesn't actually sound human, more like maybe a pig, a stuck pig. Now, the 4th one is a guy with an immaculately groomed beard and a well-waxed mustache and a mandolin sitting on the table behind or beside him. And he's actually trying to smash you with this mandolin, Drake. I've rolled a 6. What'd you roll?
I rolled a 9.
You have any armor?
Well, at least 1.
Yeah, at least 1. I don't think he really wears armor. He's got his cloak and his pants and his boots, but I don't think he technically has any armor.
Okay, so your natural roll was a 6, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so that's I got a -1 against me. And it's still a no. It's still a no. So this guy swings at you with his mandolin. You easily duck out of the way, and what do you do?
Excuse me. So I decide after he kind of misses me, I decide to do a spell, and what I quickly do is I like someone using their finger on like an iPad, like an artist. I draw a quick sketch of this being. It almost looks like a doll version of this bearded man.
Okay.
And then after I make that kind of look of him, I take my hand of that sketch that's in the middle of the air and I squeeze my hand on it, and all of the parts kind of crack and kind of fit in between my hand, and I will perform harm.
Oh, how much harm are we trying to do here?
Let's see.
Now, you know for sure 3 would kill.
Yep. I think he would just go for what he knows would be a natural kill. It wouldn't be anything above that, nothing below that.
Beat a 7.
Okay. Yep, that's a 9.
Oh, man. So you crush this thing, and at the same time, the body of your opponent gets crushed in just a completely unnatural way. Pink stuff starts to crack and ooze out of its skin, and it loses human form. It doesn't even try to look like a human face anymore. It's just pink, like chewed bubblegum, like big wads of chewed bubblegum instead of a face. And it's trying to untangle itself from this chair, but it can't. Not this round. I think the round is over. We're going to a new round.
Is there
Okay.
anything around me?
There's 2 of them right above you. No, there was the clothing right above you. They fall. You are like 5 feet from the bar. The other 2 are further than you're the closest one to the bar. There's nothing around you at all. No.
Could I step up and hit one? Because Hothrafn threw a chair, right? So he's not close.
You're maybe 6 feet away. I think you could step in and hit. Yeah.
Okay, I will do that then.
Yeah. So this is an axe blow from you and the other 2 guys. What are you doing? Let me hear what you're doing before we let's declare our shit. Okay, so I've got the groomed beard bard and the long-haired fisherman, and the groomed beard bard is tangled up in the chair, and he now looks like pink goo, but the fisherman still looks like a fisherman, and he's attacking Jesse.
I think at this point, Hothrafn is kind of just in defensive mode, because he didn't pull his axes out or anything. But he has a little bit of a smile on his face because he sees Hallfrid like behind this guy, so he's not worried too much. But he's like he's still like trying to keep his distance and like gonna play kind of like the dodge and weave.
So are you defending this round?
I am defending this round, yes.
Okay, Drake.
Yeah, I'm actually going to I'm not going to go around the bar. I'm just going to hop over the bar or just prop myself over the bar to see where these tendrils are headed.
Uh-huh. Okay, so you're running. You got to run a few, I don't know, maybe 10 feet, 12 feet. That gives you a little speed so you can jump over the bar.
Okay.
And as you're doing that, you see that Ruby is popping up, and you see her like in the act of popping up. She's a pink tendril that comes from somewhere down at the end of the bar, and her clothing is like in a pile on the floor. This tendril shoots up, pops up through the clothing, and now she's standing there in front of you. And Hallfrid.
I'm swinging at that one that's going after Jesse. So I got a 7 We got a 7 total.
This guy's not ready for you at all. All you got to do is beat a 2. He has a little bit of armor, but it's still a yes and. Where do you hit him?
He's not aiming for anything like, center body mass, right? Like big overhand, friggin' chop down on this thing.
Oh, overhand?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you cleave this guy's hat into. The blade comes down through his skull, which just once you crack the sort of the tough surface of this thing, it's all gooey and wet inside. There's a good strong blow, so you cleave it open, and then there's like no resistance. Your axe swings right down through the guy, like slices his coat in half. The tendril that comes out of him is actually 2 tendrils because you split it in half. They pull themselves together. This all happens in a second. They pull themselves together into one tendril and then shoot out the bottom of his pants leg back behind the bar. We're going over to Drake and then Hot. Drake, you have this one dude tangled in a chair right in front of you. He's actually not paying much attention to you. He's trying to get untangled from the chair. So you've got pretty much free. Oh, you've already moved and jumped behind the counter. I am wrong. You're standing in front of Ruby, and you have pretty much free reign to do anything because she wasn't ready for you to be there. Do you get a swing? No, you probably spent your move running and jumping across the bar. That's it. You can just get yourself ready for the next frame. And now, Hot.
Could I grab the guy that's in front of me and set Hallfrid up for a better attack?
Well, Hallfrid has just sliced this guy in 2.
Oh, yeah, true. Oh, so he's not up anymore.
He's gone. There's a pile of
gone.
clothing on the floor. The only one left standing is the one that Drake has tangled in a chair. And it doesn't even look human anymore. It's just a pink blob of tentacles and shit.
I'm gonna run over then and try to grab the tendril of that thing to make sure it doesn't get away. Because we've seen the other ones kind of like run into obscurity. I'm gonna grab this one and see if I can kind of hold it steady to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. So we have
this is actually the last one left out in the front area of the room, and you need to beat a 6 with a grace roll. Do you have anything you can add to it?
I don't, and I rolled snake eyes. So
okay, sorry, it's gone. Whoosh. Take an experience point. Learn to be faster. That is the end of that round, and the only person in the room now, except for you guys, is Ruby, who's standing right in front of Drake. She's looking at you, and her face does not look friendly anymore, Drake. She says, "Make a move, and I'll destroy you."
He looks at her and kind of gives like kind of a wry smile, and he's kind of like, "Your establishment sucks." And he is going to put a hand on her, and he's going to try to cast Rot.
Ooh. All right.
You said not to touch anything.
I told you not to touch it.
Yeah, do as I say, not as I do, Johnny. Wow. Okay, so you're going to make her age and decay?
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, how far do you want to go with this? Like,
I'm gonna go 40. I'm gonna go 4 decades. I'm gonna go 40 years.
wow. You need to beat an 8.
All right. Press my luck. See what happens.
Wow.
I got exactly an 8.
That is a yes, but. Haha. Okay. She says, "Make a move and I'll destroy you." You say, "Your establishment sucks," and you reach out and grab her. When the energy flows from your hand down into her, you just feel this connection with something much larger than a human. Whatever it is that you're harming, 40 years isn't as long to it as it is to you.
Mhm.
And her skin sort of withers and dries, and she looks like a cracked old apple. But then she just withdraws through her clothing, and back the tendril goes back down through a little hole in the floor, all the way at the end of the bar. The thing that you just sensed the presence of is a lot bigger than a human being.
Drake points.
One experience point for everybody.
Okay. Drake points to where he saw the tendril fall through, and he says, "Over there, but be warned, this thing is a lot bigger than all of us."
Should we burn down the building? That's probably why there was no fire in the hearth. It may be scared of fire.
Fire bad? Yeah,
To this thing, perhaps.
When Hallfrid says something about fire, something gleams in Drake's eye, and he smiles, and he doesn't.
Pyro, are we?
Yeah, he doesn't say anything, but you know that he is up for it.
You know what? Like, he sees that gleam, and then he
vision, right? I mean, Jesse's vision was it's in the basement. So you could burn the whole building, but it's not going to burn the basement.
Well, so I have a thought, right? So his eyes light up, and then I'm like, but wait, we don't know where the townspeople are. Perhaps it has them. Maybe it's feeding on them in the basement.
Perhaps it has Piku. Perhaps it has Piku in the basement. And if we get her and then we kill this thing, then not only have we bested the creature that she couldn't best, but we also rescued her. So maybe they'll give us even more silver and more recognition.
Stars in his eyes, this one.
He looks around for like a torch, a lantern, a lamp, something that we could light a fire in.
Hothrafn looks at you.
Interestingly enough, there is nothing in this building that serves your purpose.
I break one of the chairs, wrap the leg in cloth, and I will light that.
All right.
Hothrafn actually he looks and he starts to rub his hands together a little bit, and then he gives them a gentle blow, and he just says he's like please Lufin, please, and he just kind of goes and blows it and wants to create kind of a spark, almost a flitter of light around him.
Fire?
Not
light?
Fire, light.
What's the purpose here?
Because it looks like Hallfrid's afraid of the darkness, and so he's going to attempt to provide solace to him.
It's not that it's dark in here. I mean, it's early morning. We got a little bit of sun coming in through the windows.
Oh, he knows, but we're going. If we're going into the basement, he's assuming it's going to be dark in there, and he wants to help Hallfrid out.
Oh, I see. I thought, okay, all right. So this is preparatory. Gotcha.
Exactly. Yep.
But it's not in your specialty, though.
It's not. No.
It's kind of like conjuring.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, beat a 5.
All right. That is a 5, 6, 7. -1 is 6.
Oh wow! You know what? Your deity is really happy with you today.
Well, Lufin is the brother of Fodden, so I kind of have a little bit of connection there. So
you are
You've got an
feeling
in.
you're aware now, even if you forgot in between, because a lot of weird shit has been happening, you get a renewed sense of that hope and connection that you are blessed and you're doing the right thing. Yeah, and you're literally glowing. You're literally glowing. All right, I think we're ready as we're going to be.
I hold the torch. I hold the leg out towards him to see if it catches.
I imagine it's almost like fireflies or whatever, kind of floating around him.
Oh, that's cool.
Giving off like an intense, a much more intense illumination.
Did I give you an XP, Jesse? If not, take one.
You did not. I shall take one.
Okay, there is a little hole in the floor, and that little hole is actually in the center of a larger square panel that can be lifted out. A real human-sized ladder.
Yep, I'll pull it open.
Yeah, there is in fact there's a cellar down here. It's extremely cold. You hear the sound of running water down there. It's really dim. So Jesse, coming up to the edge, shine your light a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's a wine cellar, so you've got lots of racks and lots of bottles. There's the glint of light off the bottles of the wine. And somewhere out of view, but sort of to the east and a little south of you, there's a sound of trickling water. The room seems to be about 40 by 20 feet with rows and rows of wine casks. You don't see anything, but you're just looking down through a hole. There's a ladder.
I'll hook the axe torch in one hand, and I guess I'll go down first. And I go down like facing forward, right? So like I have my hand on the like behind me holding the ladder, and I'm going down holding the torch in front of me. Does that make sense? Right, instead of climbing down facing the ladder, I'm facing away from the ladder. Almost like scooting down on your butt kind of thing.
Okay, so I'm going to need a grace roll from you.
Sure, I will try to do that.
Athletics or acrobatics?
I do have athletics. Yep.
Yeah, go ahead and add that.
I got, what is that? I got a 5.
Okay, so you don't slip and fall and you don't hurt yourself, and you are in a position to tell me just in a second what you do when a thick pink tentacle shoots out of the darkness and attempts to grab you around the center like a fucking anaconda. Because that's what's happening.
I try to stick the torch on it because it's cold, right? So like I feel like this is going to be the best.
Okay,
the best
here we go.
plan.
So that
there'd be a grace roll, I guess, maybe.
You know what? I think we consider it an alternate weapon class. You're trained with axe. This is a swinging weapon, but a neg 1. So
okay, so it'd just be a straight roll.
Okay.
Oh, I do have. Well, I have fighting +1. I don't know if you want to, or if that's not. Okay,
I'll give it to you.
Oh, and a pair of 2s. It's going to be a 3.
Oh no, this is an 8.
Oh,
you have been grabbed around the waist. Are you right-handed?
Right-handed, yeah.
Okay, so the torch is in your right hand. Your left arm is bound to your core because the tentacle whips around you and yanks you off the ladder. You're being pulled into the depths of the wine cellar. The other 2 guys they're looking down. They see you, and then yoink, you're fucking gone.
I found it!
You're taking a point of might.
Okay.
Point of harm to might.
I need more coffee.
I'll be right back. You guys get to strategize.
All right, so Drake, we're just gonna close that door and run away, right? Is that...
That's the twist I wasn't seeing.
Right?
Fuck that guy. I didn't ever really like him. I just pretended I did.
His fate is up to Faden now. He will either prevail or Roland will accept him into the Utenfjord.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like fire's got to be the thing, right? Like they had no fire in the hearth. It's cold down there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Plus fire bad
Like,
again.
Fire bad.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it ate the other people to be able to to imitate them, I feel like it got to be in here. Right?
Like it doesn't. Yeah, like it didn't need fire because it wasn't like none of these people were alive anyway. So
yeah.
I wonder if it could be feeding off of them, right? So like maybe there's a tentacle in them and it's able to transmute that into a form because it's like slowly sucking away its
true like Cthulhu / puppetry.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you two guys see your buddy yanked off of the ladder into the darkness. What do you do?
I will pull out the 2 axes and make dead eye contact with Drake with like a giant smile, wide-eyed, crazy grin on his face, and just be like, "Faden has our back," and he'll just jump down the hole.
Give me a grace roll. You know what? You could do might if that's better.
Nope. They're the same. That's a 3.
Oh Jesus! You have athletics or anything? Oh, you don't, right?
Nope.
It's not that far. Okay, so you tumble, but you're not hurt.
Okay, good.
Tuck and roll.
Right.
Yeah. That's your whole action this frame.
Sounds
rolling,
good. Yep.
so you don't get hurt. And Drake, we're going down or no?
Yeah. Drake kind of shakes his head as Hothrafn kind of stumbles his way down, and he just kind of again just does the whole shakes his head and then proceeds to climb the right way down this.
The only one.
Okay. The cellar itself, again, it's about 40 by 20 feet, lots of wine racks. You get yanked off the ladder, John, and pulled right between the wine racks down through the center of the room. At the far end of the room, you are pulled into water because it's basically a really, really low budget latrine.
Ew.
And yeah, you've been pulled down into a bunch of water. The last thing you see is the toilet seat that you're pulled past. It's just a big wooden plank with a hole in it, and you're yanked down into this cold water. You're going to be at a -1 for whatever you do right now, and you really can't see much.
Yeah. I'm assuming the torch went out. Like, am I underwater or am I like waist deep in water? Or
Are you trying to hang on to it? Give me a grace roll if you want to hang on to the torch. Be a 4.
I got a 5. If I can use fighting or athletics or whatever, it would be a 6.
Yeah, so it's up to you whether you want to hang on to it or toss it in a particular direction or what.
Yeah, no, I hold on to it. I'm thinking that this thing is going to be my salvation.
Okay, the torch has gone out. It's been pulled into the water with you.
Oh shit! All right, so am I underwater then?
You are now literally underwater.
Okay.
The other 2 guys, you see the direction that he was pulled in, and you hear a loud splash.
I mean, I'm running over.
Yeah. Drake would
follow behind. Ramble to my feet and like.
Okay, so there's a latrine at the far end. It's just plank with a hole in it, and at the back end of that plank, there's still more open area. You can see it's an underground river, actually. The latrine just sort of, you're sitting over it, basically. The place, John, you were not pulled literally through the hole in the latrine. You were pulled through this larger area out behind it, because it's actually like an open cavern with a large underground river. You guys, he's being pulled away from you, sort of southeasterly, and you don't see the light, but you do catch a glint off of the axe blade. He's being pulled underwater. He cannot hold his breath for too long. You guys got to do something fast.
Can we see him at all?
You see, well, it's dark, but there's a little bit of light coming off of Hot's body. So you see like the shimmer off the axe blade or the glint of his armor. He's probably like 10, 12 feet away, and he's under 4 feet of water. So there's just everything's happening really fast. But you see a glint, you see where he is. The only way to reach him is to dive in at this moment.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
That's
man, I'm gonna dive in after him.
I call upon the Great Bear Mother to provide me with protection.
Yeah, you do. Is this a small protection, a medium protection, or a whole fucking lot of protection?
I think just a medium.
Yeah, we're gonna call it a 6. Beat a 6, and
All
you're gesturing like a mo. Oh, you only have one hand. You're at a -1, and you have to beat a 6. Shit.
I got a 6 plus 2 minus 1 is a 7.
Oh my God! Exactly. You've got a +2. I'm also giving you an experience point for that because I thought you were gonna fail. And
so you guys see, right, as you guys are running up, just you can kind of see where my form is at, and just underneath that you just see the form of a shimmering bear take shape around me.
and as that happens, you feel your lungs filled with fresh air. Okay. The other two guys are diving in. Grace rolls from both of you. Just don't fuck up. It's a big hole.
That's a 6.
Yeah, you're down there. You can grab his foot if you want to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
5 for me.
All right. You're both in the water. Just because we went in this order, it kind of makes more sense anyway, because the closer connection between Hallfrid and Hot. So Hot is the closer one. He's grabbed Hallfrid's ankle, and then Drake jumps in. You want to grab Hot's ankle? Because he's being pulled too. You're both being pulled now.
Daisy chain.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though he's not the strongest of people, he will attempt to help.
All right, y'all. This happens very rarely. Everybody make a health roll.
Okay. Do I get a bonus for the protection or no?
You get a +1. As a matter of fact, you know what, Hot? I think it's time for your +1.
Nah, I got double 6s.
Okay.
I also got a 6.
I also got a 6.
Wow. Everybody take an experience point because you're all smart enough to take a deep breath just at the last minute. Oh, actually, John, you got a magical deep breath. The other two guys, it's okay. Take an experience point. Everybody.
You got a big old French kiss from the bear mother.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to get right now. I want to get a temp check from Kurt. Are you with us for a little while longer? Do you think we should cut here because this is a great cliffhanger?
I think we could come back to it.
We almost never one-shot a one-shot, so
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is pretty standard.
This is a great fucking cliffhanger. You guys are you take a deep breath and you're being yanked through the water. You have no fucking idea where you're going.
Yep. I like
But
that.
you have the blessings of your gods.
Nice.
I dig it.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. All right. Well done, gentlemen. Well done.
Sweet.
Cool.
That was awesome.
All right. So I'll wrap this. I guess maybe we'll do a bit of a post show, talk about what worked, what didn't work, how you feel by the session went. Okay, cool. Thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate you checking everything out. We still have coffee for sale. I don't know for how much longer. I spoke with Neil. He is probably going to be dipping out on the coffee business, with all the COVID stuff and, insurance and all that kind of thing, restaurants closed and, he supplied a bunch of places, whatever. So try it if you haven't, but you're going to love it. And then you're going to hate it because you're not going to be able to get it. I don't know how long this is going to be. I didn't get any sort of a time frame. It is still currently available. So order at your own risk, maybe. I'm waiting for some to come in. I'm trying desperately to find new coffee, which sucks, but that's the whole thing. Patreon up. Todd's Patreon is up. All of us have core products on drive-through that you can check out and purchase. There's a link in the show notes for that as well. Kurt has his own podcast, MFG Cast. We're running Core Noir over there as well. You can't get away from Core. Core is going to be everywhere. So just relent and just do the Core thing and buy all the stuff. So
is futile.
So again, thanks for checking it out. If you do like it, please ratings and reviews on iTunes or whatever your podcatcher of choice is. Super helpful. Download everything everywhere. Tell your friends and whatever, the drill. So thanks for checking it out. We'll catch you next time.
Peace. Post show!
Post show? Question mark?
Okay,
Kurt's like,
so
fuck you guys, I gotta go to bed.
narrative magic is a little bit weird, but you know what? I like it.
It works.
Yeah,
I think it works. Like the most magic I'm used to is like either D&D or Cthulhu, which is usually pretty crunchy. So like just trying to find sort of like that midline between like what you were saying earlier, say something narratively and I will interpret it and or ask questions, right? Like that makes sense.
Yeah, it might help to literally create a little bit of lingo. I don't want to go too far because in a way, I mean, there's a thing that I think it was consult number 3 when I was talking with Ron Edwards, or maybe it was number 2. He said something about, your system may use points, or even if it doesn't use points, it's still doing math. It's just doing it with words.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And I feel like when we're doing it, it's got some crunch to it, but it doesn't have a ton of crunch where you're just like the whole time you're like, okay, what are we doing? What's this? What's that? Like we're still throwing numbers out there, but it's more linear. It's got a little bit more flow to it instead of just now we're in combat and now we can't do anything else but combat, that kind of thing.
I think it depends on the type of magic you're doing too, right? Like when Jesse did his send the spirits back to heaven kind of a thing, that was really open and totally narrative, and it was very easy to go with. But then there were other things like, I want to cast a protection spell, where it's like, you know what? It's hard to do that without talking about numbers.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what does it mean? Like it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things when we were talking about that, and you were saying, for the protection, do like small, medium, large protection, do all that kind of stuff.
I'm just guessing,
Oh yeah, but my one question is that so ultimately the basis of it is, how much of a bonus it's going to give, right? And that also affects the DL that it's going to be cast against and everything.
Well, the big question here is, does it need to be opposed to a DL, or should I just treat it as a gradated roll and you then determine what happened?
That could be too, yeah. Well, but my thing is, so the initial question is, does it require that initial translation? So you said the regardless of the language, it's still dealing in math, right? is it worthwhile to be like, I'm asking for a little bit of protection and that equals a +1 like a +1 armor bonus, right?
Yeah,
Is
maybe.
it worth jumping? Is it worth jumping from like narratively saying like I'm asking for a little protection when it's being then translated into +1 armor? Or is it worth just skipping that jump and being like, I'm asking for +1 protection? Is it worth? Is it
Yeah,
worth
or
it?
do you find some other way to mechanize it? It's like
right.
This like
Is
if
it
you
worth
take
it?
Lady Blackbird, if you use,
Is it worth it to put it in that narration when ultimately it's just a gap? Like, can you just shorten that gap?
It's just a number, right? Ultimately, we're concerned with a number, is what you're saying.
ultimately we're concerned with the number.
If you're concerned, if ultimately you're concerned with the number, then is
But
that
like when you're asking for help from your god, okay, this is true of deities. It may not be true of other types of magic, but if there's a deity involved, it definitely feels like when you're talking to a god, you don't name your price. You take what the god gives you. So it's less of a I want a +2, and it's more like a please help, give me whatever you can.
Right. Are they even listening?
Are they even listening? You know, which feels like a gradated roll then. You just roll as high as you want, and that tells me how much you get.
Yeah.
Right. Is it hard? Very hard. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Oh, God.
I was just going to say it leaves a lot on the GM then to interpret, like, what does, okay, you got a very hard, what does that mean? Is that a +2? Is that a +3? You know,
True,
what does that translate into? Right.
It does leave a lot on the GM, but who has more authority than the GM on like the way magic works in this world? Kind of, I can ask you guys, how does magic work for you? And I can work with whatever you give me, but I think most GMs would be more like, hey, I've invented this world. Here's how magic works.
Yeah.
And this is why I like the fact that kind of the three of us went with pretty different aspects of magic, because it's able to test out these different things. So like Drake, the way he casts is that very much like I'm looking for a very specific result, right? Like you are casting a spell that has a result. Whereas then like Hallfrid is kind of still specifically casting a spell, like you're looking for an effect, but
it's more
what
of a
that
feeling
effect,
almost.
Exactly. Yeah. What that effect isn't you're not looking for something specific. You're looking for something general. Whereas like then Hothrafn was not.
Well, I would say that Hot's magic, divination magic.
Yeah.
In a way, it is the scariest of all because, you know, that GM thing about what if the player can tell the future, then
exactly. Yeah.
Ties the whole campaign up in knots or whatever. But I actually find it one of the most useful things because it's kind of like, you know, letting the yes ands handle the info lists in a Cthulhu scenario.
Right,
I've got a piece of information or a clue or something. I'm trying to figure out how to pass it to you. And you do a divination spell. I'm like, oh, okay.
Honestly, you know what I was equating divination to is almost intel.
Exactly.
You are in essence getting a piece of information that is useful or will be used in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the GM can actually give you as much or as little as they want to, depending upon the role too. So like, even if it's something you've divined on, just like intel, it's like, okay, you have this little piece of information. Does it really matter? Right now, it probably doesn't. In the future, it may, but who knows?
Right.
Well, and it should always be sort of vague and suggestive anyway, right? Like you don't usually divine the thing, you know, in most media, right? Like you don't know this exact thing is going to happen. Like you get a feeling that things may break this way, or they may break that way, or this person may be important, but you don't know why, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you get a hint of something.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I know how the campaign ends, right? Like that's not
right.
Yeah. Or you could get something even that's big, but in essence it's still unknown. Like you
Yeah.
find out, like, oh, I find out that Hallfrid is going to die. Shit, that sucks, but I don't know how now. So now I just like
Right.
every corner, I'm like, shit, Alfred,
Yep.
Alfred, you know, that kind of thing. So
You get it, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Or
all
I
right,
could have
so
Jesse have a vision where the hand, you know, it's way bigger than, oh my God, every hand is actually just a finger on the end of another hand, and it covers the whole fucking continent.
mhm.
right,
Okay, this is obviously way bigger than we're ever going to handle in a one shot. And who knows what it means, but
Mhm.
you've got this vision now, some big dark evil that might take a whole campaign to figure out.
Yeah.
right. All right, so here, this makes sense, I promise. But so there's a show that my kids watch, right? Where every single episode there's an issue that needs to be dealt with, and so this girl goes to a wishing tree and she gets 3 wishes, and the first 2 automatically make sense. You're like, I can absolutely see how those 2 can be, and it's they have like a specific ability that they can do, right? So the first 2 always make sense. You're like, I can see how those play, but then the third one, you're like, I don't know how the fuck they're gonna tell. Like, obviously, it's the way the show goes. They match the same beats pretty much every time. But you're like, I don't know how the fuck they're gonna tie this third one in. It's weird. It grows into a giant blob. I don't know how they're gonna use that to save this tree. But sure, whatever. So it feels almost like that. Like that's what divination is. Is like you're being given a gift. You don't know what it's doing. You don't know how it's gonna work, but it's going to work out at some point.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
True in the
it
Rainbow
seems to me
Kingdom.
that,
Check it out. It's a pretty good show. I based a wizard off it once.
what's it called?
True in the Rainbow Kingdom.
Okay.
It's weird, but it's kind of cool.
So it really seems like the only part that's sticky is where we talk about numbers. I had a really weird
Yeah.
thought. Slightly Lady Blackbird. Like, if you do a little speech, you know, like, you know, please, Jesus, or, you know, help me. I beseech upon you to bring me help. You said help twice, so that means 2.
Hmm.
Is that stupid? Is that too?
It's real subtle.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like if we established
Real
that
subtle,
was
and
the
it's something that can also be real. Like if all right, and I know don't play to the psychos, like don't, but like it's something that could theoretically be way.
Dear Jesus, it would really help if you could help me because I'm asking for help, and help is all I need.
yeah.
But what
I
does
mean,
that mean? That means that you've just tried to cast like a level 12 spell. Good luck on that roll.
Right. Yeah, that's the limit. I mean,
Yeah.
if you established that was the way that it would work, then I think we would do it that way, and we just have to try to, come up with a way that didn't sound,
Yeah,
dumb.
you
Like,
got-
I need your help because help is good, and
I
help
wish
is
it was
what
a
I
little
need.
more exciting when your spell failed. I'm sorry about that.
Hmm.
But at least we did see one spell fail, right? Now, if you had been trying to do something even bigger, then you would have failed harder.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you can ask Jesus for 20 helps, but if you fail that, your brain's going to explode or something.
Right.
Yeah. How did it work on your end? Did it feel like it worked? As far
I
as like
liked it a lot.
specifically the magic, right?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I'm very comfortable with it because to me it just feels like skills, right? Like if you said I've got 0 gravity skill, doesn't that kind of mean that I can hold my breath in water longer than most people? And I go, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I didn't think of it before, but yeah, right. And magic is kind of the same way, right? And again, it's like who's better equipped than the GM to say no, that's magic isn't that powerful in this world, but I'll give you this.
Hmm.
It kind of has to be the GM because he's the one that draws Harper's line, right? the line between what you're allowed to say and you're not allowed to say.
Mhm.
And I throw Harper's line way wide open for you guys, but most GMs don't. But every GM draws it somewhere,
Yeah.
and that's always up to them. And then the players just learn it. They learn where you figure after a couple rounds, you figure out where the line is.
Yeah. Most people aren't going out of their way to completely screw up the other players and the GM. You know, they're thinking pretty logically and stuff like that.
Right.
There are exceptions, believe me. I played D&D once with this one guy that just I didn't know why he was even there. But you know, most of the time when you're thinking about the things that your character wants to do, you're not going, okay, what's the most ridiculous thing I can do? Like literally, it looked like I was looking at my phone, like doing something else, but I was literally looking at my spells going, how do I use this spell a different way? You know, how do I, instead of just doing like, oh, I'm gonna do the one thing and it's gonna be exactly what that says. You know, I'm like, how can I twist this for it to be something else instead of just the same old thing every single time? Which I feel like it didn't.
Which is part of the goal here, right? Because if you make Magic narrativist, then even if we run another campaign in a, you know, let's say Land of Ooh, and you make another character who also has Vitalia magic, but you know what? It's going to be totally different.
Yeah.
Even if it's the same stats and everything, it would still be different.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and there's
Now on. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So on the GM side, say I ran a session with magic in it, right? It's something, you know, going through the rules, it's not something that I saw, so I'm wondering how you were doing it. How do you decide the DL of a spell? Like how, if I want to do something and you know how and especially with stuff that like Hallfrid and Hothrafn were doing, where it was basically just kind of like made up as in the moment. Like how do you come up with the DL other than just being like, it sounds like a 6? Like, is there actual math that you were thinking out, or was it just kind of like a feeling thing?
It is more than a feeling. Classic song.
More than a feeling.
And it also comes from two places. So on the spellcasting page, first off, there's that abstract list of adjectives, and that's kind of a guide for like the more free form stuff, the kind of stuff John was doing. But actually, when you did your Rainbow Bridge, I just basically looked at this, and I decided that I think I called it hard. So it was something paranormal and inexplicable, but it wasn't so huge. It wasn't like I would call it painful or phantasmagorical, because it's part of the world for you that made perfect sense. It's not that weird. Like, y'all know there's a rainbow bridge and y'all know that the souls want to go there. So it's really not that weird. And I decided, okay, let's call that hard. When it comes to the stuff that Kurt was doing and some of the stuff that John was doing, I would look at the magical schools themselves, because if you look at like any magical school, almost any magical school, it starts off by looking at the size of your target. So 4 is human. If you're trying to cast your effect on a human, I start with a base of 4. And then I just jiggle that up and down a little bit based on what you say. So if it's a human, but you want to do double the thing, I'll add 2, be to 6. You know, if it's a human and you just want to give them a +1 or heal 1 point of harm, then I'd call it a 5. So I'm kind of calling 4 a baseline, and then I'm jiggling it up and down a little bit.
Yeah, because like when I was trying to do that rot for 4 decades or whatever, you took the baseline of 4, then you added 4 because I was doing the 4 decades, so you gave me the 8 there.
Right.
You know, and then it probably, you know, maybe you would have, you know, give me a plus and minus depending upon if I had a boon, or if, like, you know, maybe I was under duress, then there would have been another negative against that.
Right. And it does have a lot on the GM, because you've got to kind of hold that in your head at the moment. But you know what? Exactly the same is true of combat or any other skill that's used in a creative way. You're in the middle of a combat scene, a lot of shit's going on, but you remember that you said the light is in your eyes. So there's going to be a neg one somewhere because you said that. You just got to remember that. And so it doesn't matter whether you're doing magic or combat. It's like you say something, now it's real, it has to have an effect. Remember it. Right?
So in the magic section, then you may want to point out that, like, you know, it's on the chart that, like, you know, for him, but specifically, like, this is what we're starting with as a base DL. You know, feel free to jiggle up and down depending on the scope and breadth of, you know, what a player's has. To give a GM who's not used to core, like, this is what we're looking at, and this is how you can jiggle this number up and down, and this is, you know, kind of how we would, you know,
Yes,
sort of
and there
look
should
at it.
and there should also be examples of a bunch of spells. However, they're not going to be right there in the spellcasting part. They're going to be in the how to GM part near the back of the book. Because the purpose of the front half of the book is I'm trying very much to make every CO just fit on 2 facing pages. So spellcasting, boom, boom. And if you want to read about the how-to or the style or the, you know, in between sessions, read the essays in the back of the book. That's where the how-to GM stuff is. But once you've internalized that, I figured most of the time, you just want to look at the table and go, oh yeah, beat an 8. You don't need the how-to part. You don't want to look at paragraphs of text. You just want 2 facing pages with the tables right there.
Maybe. I would probably want walls of text, right? Like I'm in for the crunch, right? So, like, I would get more value from, you know, from.
But that means you have to read all that text while you're GMing.
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, maybe.
This is one of my problems. I'm always talking about Apocalypse World. I hope Vincent Baker doesn't think I hate him because I love him. I worship the fucking ground he walks on. But the organization of Apocalypse World is walls of text that you had to literally, hang on, guys. I think it's around this page. Ah, there it is.
Yeah, I see both sides of it because I've never been diagnosed with ADD, but I feel like when I'm reading, I have that because after a while, I'm just like, my mind just wanders, and I'm like, I just want to get to the thing that tells me the thing I need to do. And like, even before this session, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And I was like, it had nothing to do with anybody but me. It was just like, okay, what, you know, and so, you know, sometimes you have to kind of sit down and say, okay, what do I really need to do with this? So sometimes a lot of that stuff, a lot of that information is good, but sometimes it can be too much.
It certainly depends on the player, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah, but the book is mostly, it's for the GM. Really, the book is a tool for the GM. Yes, it's a tool for players, but ultimately, it's the GM who sits there using it in action, and that's what I think of when I'm trying to get these down as short and tight as possible. You got your simple definition at the top. If you want more detail, there's an essay toward the back. But basically, you got your simple definition. Here's the mods. Here's the table. And then some COs have a couple, you know, weird edge cases. Like, here's, if you want to buy a wealth level with money, yeah, you could do that. Here's how. But usually it's just like quick setup. Here's the table. Here's how to interpret. And we go on to the next CO. Because in play, I've got 3 people talking. I'm trying to remember 50 different facts. I just want to know what that number is. I don't have time to read the essay right now.
Yeah. But I do think
I should have read it before.
I do think the examples are definitely worth it because with working with you guys writing and stuff like that, and you guys helping me work on my writing, like, I feel like examples have always been a thing where it's like, oh, I'm glad I have that because, you know, this text tells me what's going on, but then the examples actually show me what needs to be done. And that especially for someone who doesn't know things like, you know, when I've had John kind of look at I've had everyone look at WWA for me, and you know, I had John the other day was like, well, I don't really know what this means, but you know, I'd like some examples. I'm like, yeah, well, duh. It's like, obviously you don't, you know wrestling as a thing, but there's some things that you may not know. So it's like, okay, I have to describe these things. So like, if someone,
Yeah, I also love examples. I love learning from examples.
yeah,
I if I'm learning, it doesn't even have to be role playing related. Like if
Yeah.
I'm studying a science or a technology or something,
Yeah.
I would rather learn it from seeing it applied than learn it in the abstract.
Yep.
Because once I see it applied, then I can abstract from there. I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So the examples, and some people don't like examples. They think they're a waste of space. But I'm like, dude, if I see an example, I read it first.
Yeah.
Well, and I think this non sequitur to specifically what you're talking about. So we did 2 different kinds of magic. I feel like there was a third in the magical stuff that you sent over, which would just be like, there isn't a magical school. There's not a magical art. Like you have magic, right? Like you could cast magic, or you have spell casting or whatever, and people could just, I cast an illusion, I cast a fireball, I cast a whatever, right? Like I feel like most people are probably maybe more used to that sort of thing. Is that in the book, or did I make that up? Right? Is that a potential for like in schools and system and stuff make sense? And maybe it's the edge case of the power gamer that like I just want to do magic stuff, right? And not really have a throttle.
Okay, so there's 5 ways magic knowledge can be divided, and then there's 4 different ways that magic information is distributed across a culture, and then there's 3 or 4 different ways where you get power of the magic, where it comes from. So if what is that? 5 times 4 is 20 times 3 is 60. So there's 60 possible ways that the GM could make magic work. Go back to the first set of 5. There's 2 that match what you're talking about. The first and the fully narrative version is spellcasting is a skill, and there are no specialties. So if you buy spellcasting, you just narratively make up fucking anything, and the GM gives you a DL for it. The other thing that matches what you're talking about, which I think is much closer to probably what you were thinking, the traditional D&D mage, is where spellcasting is a skill, but the schools don't have hard lines between them. They're just sort of terms of convenience, and you can pick your spells from any school that you want. So that's like your D&D type mage right there.
Right. Okay, so I did see that in there.
That's the most complex, but it's the most customizable. I learn the spells I want to learn from any list I want.
Yeah,
there's more for you to write down. You have to write down every spell. Right.
I kind of feel like that would be the core Cthulhu magic, right? Like it's vague in the word in Lovecraft's works, right? Like there's no mechanics for like magic stuff. Like magic just happens. A lot of it is ritual based.
Yeah,
but I think once you know the ritual, like you could just summon a whatever, right? Because you know how to do it.
I think most of the magic in Lovecraft is actually rituals, not spells.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably mostly rituals.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, Wilbur Whately could probably just use magic, right? Not actually have to light candles or sacrifice a thing or, whatever. Like I feel
Randolph
like there is
Carter has lucid dreaming for sure.
Yeah. Right. Go to Dreamlands. So I never finished the magic supplement because I sort of wrestled with how to go about it, and not that I've lost interest, but like it became hard work, and then it's just kind of like hanging out over here.
Oh yeah, it's fucking hard. I've actually that I was working on and that became super complex. And I don't know if I'll end up going that way with Oob, but I'm glad that I did all that work, because it's just like I was writing about something totally different, maybe Intel in the Discord. You do all this research and you're like, I am fucking crushing this mechanic. And you're like, I've got subsystems hanging off of other subsystems. This is amazing. And then you go, no, this is a mess. It's a crunchy fucking math problem. But it's good that I did all this research, because now I can see how to make it fucking simple.
Pull
Right.
all back apart. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of fantasy stuff, D&D, Pathfinder kind of fucked that up for people that just wanted to play a simple fantasy game. Like when you
Ultimately,
talked about,
we're a bunch of writers making up a story, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking step on you. No, you can't run that far because the story would be too much fun. What?
Yeah. I mean, think about the kids that played when it first started. They had the books, but some of them were just like, okay, you cast fireball, just go for it, roll, see if you hit. It wasn't a bunch of numbers. Some people did, but there's a lot of people that didn't.
And I'm trying very hard to make sure that core can handle all these different situations. So if you're, the idea is that most people are trad gamers. They got more experience with D&D than anything else. So, you come into core and you roll some stats. There are 6 of them. They kind of look like strength, whiz, charisma. You feel like, I know what I'm doing and I can do this. And then before you know it, you're doing narrativism, and it can just get more and more abstract from there. So it's the same kind of thing. I want the system to be flexible enough so that if you want, you can do the D&D type mage and pick all your spells and keep your list and be really fucking crunchy and anal about it. But I think that when you relax, you start drifting toward the more narrative magic, because it's just easier. It's less work. You trust each other. Fucking why not?
Yeah. I think the one thing that I'd be interested in, and I think the one thing that kind of maybe needs focus, although you've probably already done the work on this end, but just to when you're able to deal with these two completely different aspects of traditional magic, I cast this spell, it has this effect, or like I want to narrate what effect is happening, and then we come up with the numbers afterwards, just to ensure that one isn't more powerful than the other on a mechanics basis, and that the math behind the two is the same. It's just one of it's already pre-planned and the other one you're making up on the spot.
Right. And this touches on what John was talking about before, and how I said there will be more about this in the GM section, because to run magic definitely needs at least a little bit of detail. But I am using both, though. I'm using both systems at the same time. So there were a couple things that John did. The protection spell, for instance, where instead of using the spellcasting table and think, is that phantasmagorical or merely impossible? No, I already knew that there was a protection spell in that other school, so I just went and looked it up there.
Yep. Makes
That's
sense.
fair.
So even if I didn't
have
have any, so even if Kurt wasn't playing, or if Kurt was using magical arts as well, I still would have glanced at that other one just to get the DL for that one spell. It's there, why not?
Yeah. Makes sense.
So I think that's kind of what it comes down to. It's just like, use 4 as your basis, and if someone says something that sounds kind of like one of these other spells that's already in here, then use that as your basis.
Right.
It's pretty much it.
Yeah.
For sure.
And you do have to sometimes think on your feet, because, like, okay, so there's a spell about causing harm, but what you're doing is different. Like, you want to, I don't know, emotional pain and a burning sensation in the penis. Who knows? So you kind of have to wing it. Sometimes you're like, okay, there's a spell for harm. Let's call that a +1. So it'll be a DL5. there's no actual rule for everything you might make up, but I can come up with something that sounds about equal.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to leave some stuff up to the GM too. You can't always be directing them to do certain things because even with all these rules that you have in place, some people are going to cut some of those rules out or cut them down for that session or for that
not only
fight or
that,
whatever.
but it doesn't pay me to be too specific because there's a pretty good chance there's going to be an and the player's going to add something on top of this, whatever I say.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't plan for every eventuality, especially with something like Magic, right? Because it's all fantastical already anyway. So like it could be anything, right? Whatever the player comes up with, you got to figure out how to adjudicate that.
Yeah.
Right, and Magic feels weird because Magic's not real in our world. But if you stop thinking of it as a game for a second and just think of it as writers exchanging tokens for who gets narrative control, Magic's no different than anything else. It's just like, I'm going to try using this to get narrative control. Ah, I did.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Yeah.
I got to get to bed. It's been a long day. Thank you.
All right. Thanks,
That was
Kurt.
fun.
So much, Kurt.
Thank you,
We'll
Kurt.
see you again in the future.
Take it easy.
Right on, man. In the future.
So I was quasi keeping track of XP. Did you do a tally? I know we were Discord talking about, well, a player can keep their own tally. And I'm like,
I decided to just try that and just throw them out live. And you got less than everybody else. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that Jesse.
I got 10.
Yeah, Jesse racked them up.
okay. I have 9 on my sheet. I think that's right.
Really? I thought Jesse did a lot more than you did.
You gave us out a couple.
A couple times, all
defeating
three.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And then I came on a little bit towards the end. I got a couple of yes ands.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah, you caught up at the end because up until the scene in the bar, Jesse was way ahead of the rest of you. Yeah.
Yeah. Combat's where I shine. Cool. And I guess we're not spending anything as we're sort of in situ at the moment then. As far as spending any sort of XP.
It's only the first session, so the earlier it is in the game, the easier it is to justify spending a skill or picking up something, because you just haven't seen you do it yet. So I don't really have a big problem if you wanted to.
Kind of, because so switching Magic from
We can even you're pulled into the latrine and you suddenly have a character development flashback.
Right.
Well, so I had 3 for brains and 1 for psyche, which I felt kind of made sense. Like usually not that you can really min max in core, but I get a couple 2s, a couple 3s. I don't like to have anything with a 1, right? Like I don't play that way. It's unbalanced to me. I don't like it. But I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna do it. So I had a 1 in psyche and a 1 in charm, which made sense. I figured, that's probably okay. But now I've got a 1 in charm and a 1 in brains, which I feel like hurts a lot. So I want to bump that brains to a 2. If I've got 9, I've got enough to go from a 1 to a 2 to balance that out, right? Because I feel like it's pitched off.
Don't you need 1 more point?
Well, I have 9, so I could spend 5 to go from 1 to 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Right. The 1 charm I don't care about, right? Because you figure like big scar, whatever, Viking dude, big husky, whatever, right? Like I feel like that makes sense, right? Like that's usually the dump stat in D&D anyway. Like, oh yeah, I got like an 8 charisma. Yeah, he stinks and he drinks and whatever,
Okay, so here's the thing though. I mean, going from 1 to 2 costs 5 in care gen, but it costs 10 after play has begun.
Oh, that's right, because we already started. I gotcha. Okay. All right. Yeah, I was thinking character creation. I forgot. Yeah. All right. So I guess I don't have anything to worry about.
All you got to do is get hurt.
Yeah, I don't think I got hurt.
Not yet. Oh,
No,
you
I
did.
did.
You
I
took
got hurt
1
once.
point of. Did I give you XP for that?
I
No, I don't
so.
think I
didn't
did. There you
Alright.
go. There's your 10th XP.
Sweet. 2. And I have spent 160. Nice. I forgot we got XP for getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do now.
I dig it.
It used to be for stat reaching 0.
Okay. Cool.
I loosened it up a lot more. I feel like being a lot more lenient with the points because there's now more ways to spend them.
Mhm.
Right? There's wealth and unlike fame and rank, which you can play without ever even looking at the fame and rank. But wealth is actually important, and you're probably most of the time going to want to buy 1 level in it.
Yeah. Yeah, if it wasn't so I said to Jesse, like I could whip out a character and core in 5 minutes without too much thought, right? Like if we're gonna play any sort of like non-fantasy, like modern genre thing, like I can whip out a character. I said to Jesse, this is the hardest time I've ever had making a character, and I don't know if it's specifically because it's fantasy that you're trying to like min-max the thing. Like that's the D&D thing, right? Like I love the story and all that, whatever.
No, I
but
felt
like,
the same. I felt the same way when I took this module and I, of course, tweaked it a little bit and sort of broke it up to make it more, open. But I felt the same thing. I'm like, fuck. What are fantasy skills? What are
and it wasn't so. But like I was gonna do a 2, so I took a 2 in spellcasting, right? Because we want to test that, right? So we want to at least have a 2 to make sure that we're doing things that's going to be useful. And then I was like, well, I'll take a 2 in in fighting, in the weapons thing. And I'm like, well, but if I take a 2 in weapons, that's 30. But if I take a +1 and a +1 weapon, that's only 20. Now I've got 10 more XP to play with. Now I could take another. And it was one of those sorts of things where I'm like shuffling things around. And I did my traditional, like, 3 3s and 3 2s. And I was like, well, but I need to squirrel out some extra XP so I can do this. Fuck, and it's
not only that, but if your GM goes whole hog, there's later suggestions for things that can be bought that I didn't bring up in the care gen section, but later it turns, you could buy an archive, for instance, and you can buy it with XP. So you could have like an archive of data on whatever on a CD-ROM or in a book. And there's a cost for it, and you can buy it. There's also like individual spells. There's the ability to level up individual specialties within a skill. And what I like about this, I know it makes it more, I guess, crunchy. There's more numbers to think about, but I like the fact that there's things that cost small amounts. It's less than 5. Not everything's an increment of 5. So there's things that cost 1. There's things that cost 2. And that's cool, I think, because you can make a lot of these little adjustments.
Yeah, because it gives you that little bit of, if I have 4 XP, like say I didn't get too much during a session, it then gives me the option of like, well, I could use these now, right? Or I can wait to see what happens next session, and maybe I'll get a little bit more, and I can save up a couple sessions with the XP for something.
Right. Or and it always kind of bothered me that you could specialize, like skills that have specialties, right? The one that you specialized in would always be better than the others. Like, and that's not really realistic. You could specialize in, dinosaur bones for a few years and then switch over to human bones and right. There's no reason why the one always would be a +1 relative to the other. So I built in this rule about now you can equalize your specialties. And that means like for you, Jesse, you played tonight and you went, divination is cool, but it might be cool to pick up a +1 in one of those other ones because I tried, whatever
Yeah.
conjuring, right? Like
Yeah.
you didn't realize it, but hey, it's only going to cost 2 experience points, so let's buy up another one of those things
Mm-hmm.
instead of having to wait, 2-3 sessions to get 10.
Right, exactly.
I'll have to read through that again. So does that work for the magical arts?
If they're considered specialties, and here they are, yeah.
Because I looked at some of the other stuff. Like I wouldn't want to take anything like, like you wouldn't take Beguiler or something, right? But like something adjacent to protection, maybe like summoning, right? Because you kept like, the way the magic manifests is the summoning of this bear. So like maybe summoning magic would be something that maybe makes sense.
What about something a little more a little more offensive? I could see him doing, or even maybe not, maybe maybe like a halting or moving, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Evoking the presence of the mother bear to stop someone dead in their tracks, or to actually like the force, like it's summoning the spirit of the mother bear, but not for it to do something, but for it to like push somebody out of the way, or create blockades, things like that.
Yeah. I have to go back and read. It doesn't matter now. I don't have any XP to spend, but
you're right. Yeah.
If it's only, but if it's only,
imbue your might with that of the bear spirit.
Yeah. I mean, if it's only 2 to grab one of those, as opposed to 10,
right?
Okay, so let me double check, just make sure I didn't. Yeah, it's to go from 0 to 1. It's a 2. In fact, to go from 1 to 2 is also a 2, just for a specialty.
Oh, I think I made a comment about that too when I went through and made the edits. Yeah, right. As being, I remember making some kind of comment. Like, was it was it too cheap or something? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think that now I may have been reading you wrong. But the way that I took that was compared to the old relative cost of things, because I have brought them down. And one thing I decided to stop doing, because I struggled with this even back when I wrote Day Trippers the first time, is like, if you buy a level 3 right off the bat, should I just charge you what the odds give you for a 3? Which is what I'm doing now. Or what I did in Day Trippers, kind of fucked you guys a little harder, because I made you pay for the 1 and then the 2 and then the 3. So it actually was much more expensive in the Day Trippers rules. It's gotten a lot cheaper now because I subtracted the previous levels and I just went, you know what? No, the odds are a +3. You're buying a +3. It's not like we don't have to pretend you worked your way up +1, +2, no, just fucking buy the 3.
Yeah.
And again, I'm trying to make things cheaper because I'm aware that I've given you more things to buy now. So I have to make things cheaper. Or say all characters start at 200.
I feel like that might be overpowered though, right? Like,
yeah, I know. I'd rather make things cheaper.
Well, but overpowered in relation to what?
Well, so let me frame it this way. I always felt like, especially when we played 4E, the more interesting the game was between levels like 1 and 5, right? Not so much in 5th because you advance through the first 2 in like a session or whatever,
right?
But those early levels where you're trying to figure out who the character was and building up those skills were more interesting than say 5 to 10, because then it just sort of becomes a grind and then everybody stops after 10 anyway. So starting at 200, you're already like really good at a bunch of stuff, and we haven't seen any of that growth, right? Like you could start with a couple of +2s, and you're like, well, like even in the Noir game, right? Like so So
no.
George
What I'm saying is, if I was still doing things the Day Trippers way, now that I've given you more stuff to spend on, I
Well,
would
it'd been
have to give you
possible.
more to start with.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't like that for the reasons that you're saying right now. So instead, I just made them more spread out, and lots of things cost just a little bit.
Mhm.
So you can't get everything, but there's a lot more diversity and specialization that you can do.
Yeah, I'll have to reread through that because I know you did drop the cost because I remember making comments about it. But when I did this, I used micro, so I did whatever was in there. So I might have technically overspent.
Yeah, you might have. No, everything's
Because I think
cheaper.
I think
Everything's cheaper.
But I think creation's the same, right? So to go from
No,
one to
cheaper.
is it?
It's cheaper now, so you probably still have some points.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll have to redo them. I'll have to go through.
Yeah, because I used to go 10, 30, 70 because I was adding in the 20 in between. But now it just goes 10, 20, 40.
Okay. Yeah, I probably fucked it all up then.
But that's great. You can buy more shit.
Yeah. And
it's better than the other way around.
Right.
I'd be going, oh fuck.
Well, then I wonder, right? Like, so I feel like story-wise, it wouldn't make sense for me to take a level of like fame or wealth because of the way we sort of established the character. But then I would want to hold some XP at some point to make that bump to try to go towards that goal. Not that it would be like, oh, I buy a level of fame that everybody loves me and I get the thing that I want. Maybe it's got to be 2 levels of fame. Maybe it's got to be 2 wealth levels, whatever it is, but to sort of build in that direction then.
Well, it does have to be fictized. And the rules do say must. Sorry. No, this isn't a may. This is a must. Because this game isn't about, put the numbers where you want. This game, the numbers are only there because we need them to measure things in the story, but the story is what's really there. So if you get famous or if you suddenly have a lot more wealth, I absolutely want to know why. And the reason is not because I had 10 XP. The reason is something you did based on your character's experience. Maybe he wrote a book. Maybe he gave a lecture. Maybe he consulted with the king and told him everything we learned about the Northern Wastes. But whatever it is, you do something, and that fictizes this.
Maybe he saved a famous adventurer.
Maybe he saved a famous adventurer.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. But I don't even think that's hard. It's not really hard to come up with something, I mean, it's not like I think the words I use were it doesn't have to be detailed. It just has to make sense. We don't need to know the structure of the book you wrote. Just say, well, I wrote a book.
Right. Wrote a book about the experience.
Yeah. And people loved it, and now I'm a little famous.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool.
I think we're done here.
I think so. All right. Well, we're going to close it out then. So if you made it all the way through, thank you again. If you're listening to the post show on Patreon, thank you for supporting there. And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Yeah.